Hey guys, what is up? My name is Lord Nick, and welcome to another League of Legends related video. This is going to be the 20-something episode of the Dangerous Game podcast. I think it's 24. I've kind of lost track. 23, my bad. 23rd episode of the Dangerous Game podcast, and I'm going to be joined by my friend Sarcasm once again. And as per last episode, we're going to be discussing improvements I can be making towards my ranked attempts of climbing. Solo queue climbing has been very difficult for me this season. I feel like I'm tilting a lot more than than even previous seasons where I tilted pretty hard. I feel like this season I'm tilting even harder, and I'm trying out a lot of new champions pretty consistently, and I feel like that's probably a big part of what's driving some of my failures somewhat, is I'm not sticking to any one thing. And so I'm not really mastering a champion. I'm getting good at them, but not great at them, and it's just like, it's as soon as I hit that wall where you usually have kind of a drop off, I'm kind of jumping from champion to champion, and I feel like that's a pretty bad habit that I'm building. But let's start with kind of the bad things we saw this week about me, and I don't know how much did you see of me this? Well, you saw at least that scrim game. You saw that scrim game at least, the scrim games. So I mean,
wait, was that when me and you played?
Yeah. You saw those ones at least.
Was that not last week? Holy crap!
That was this last week.
It felt like a long time ago. I meant like before we did the last video. Holy shit!
Nope.
I didn't realize.
Last video was we should have done this video probably on Monday, but like I was a little bit in the dumps. So
I mean, that's whatever. But yeah, because it felt like a pretty long time ago. That's why. Also, I don't think playing a bunch of different champions is the worst thing. I play a bunch of different champions. It just depends on if it fits your ability to climb, I guess. Because I actually do worse when I play the same champion a lot. But that's because I get bored and then I stop thinking when I play. And then I just start doing the same things over and over without thinking why I'm doing them. That's kind of like the nice thing about Karthus, is you can keep doing the same things over and over without thinking about them. Most of the time it works out. As long as the thing that you keep doing over and over is farming your jungle and pressing I. But
dude, I told you about that game where we got shit on by a Karthus Smurf, right?
Oh yeah.
I sent you the guy's fucking OP.G. It's like, hey, does this look like a Smurf to you? Legit, my team was raging so. I think it was my ADC, was raging so hard that I was getting out jungled by this guy. And like after the game, I told him just check the guy's OP.GG. And he's like, why would I care about his OP.GG? It's like, because he's a fucking Smurf, you fucking imbecile. No, it was our mid lane, because he wasn't warding, and he was getting mad that this Karthus like had like 50, almost like 150 farm lead at the end of the game on me. And it's like, dude, you do realize any time I went near a lane that wasn't topside, he took my entire topside jungle. But because we didn't have wards, I didn't know, like, after the first time he did it, okay, I assumed that's what he's doing every time, so I'm trying to invade his bot side jungle when I'm down there, but his bot had wards, and so they were just collapsing on me and stopping me. Like, I was literally getting zoned off of everything. and he's like, oh, you're just bad. It's like, really? Okay, sure, yeah, dude. Like, sure, like, that's it. That's 100% it. Like, you can correct in that specific situation. You're 100% correct. I am just so much more bad at this game than you, that you perfectly understand it on your 1 and 8 Zed. Like, I don't know. But back to the actual issue at hand, opposed to me getting on a soapbox and ranting about stupid mid laners, which I could do all day. Okay, so I guess if you really hadn't watched my games this week, that makes it a little harder for you to have an opinion on how bad I was this week, but I felt like this is one of my worst weeks that I've had in a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't you just tell me how some of your games went?
Like not even just like how the game results went, because like for most of the week I was going dead even in results. I would go up to about 50, 60 LP, and then I dropped down back to 0, and then back up to 50, 60, and then down to 0, and then at the end of the day at about 50, 60. And like I was doing that pretty back and forth most of the week.
Wait, did you play the whole week? I didn't even realize.
Like there was about towards the end of the week, I took a couple days off. Here, just a couple days back, I started taking a couple days off. I was just kind of burning. Like The team kicking me really kind of fucked my like mentality and morale even more. So like it was already getting kind of in the dumps because I felt like I kind of got tricked into the team. Like I was already starting feeling like I was being tricked into the team, and then like we finally actually succeed well. I do an interview where I make a comment, and then he gets like so butthurt over this one comment of saying that he's very bad at roaming, which he honestly, like, that person, that was one of his biggest weaknesses, is his ability to roam at the right times, which, you know, but I didn't like go and just dive in on how terrible he is, blah blah blah. I didn't fucking personally attack him either. It was literally one piece of criticism, and then like I even complimented him later, and I complimented other people on the team, and I even like I never mentioned that I felt like, you know, outside the Skarner game where I said like I felt like I really hard like helped make sure that that turned around in the mid game, but like the other games I was just like our ADC carried us, like that was just it. That was simply all I said, and like then I get kicked for the team for it, and like that to me just felt so petty and so like shitty, like, and that just like demoralized me even more so. But it was also really bad. Like the team also felt like, not the teammates, but it just like the environment felt really bad for me. Just like as I was there, because of the fact that we didn't have a coach who's there to help point out individual flaws or help us do VOD reviews or stuff like that. Like I personally had to go and re-review all of my own stuff by myself and pick out my own flaws. But one of my biggest flaws as a person is that I'm very critical of other people as well. In stuff that's competitive nature, that's team oriented, I'm very critical of my teammates, and it's, I feel like a lot of people are very critical of their
Yeah,
teammates.
you definitely are.
But
I think you're definitely a lot more than most people.
Yeah, at least in League of Legends, which is really odd because like in football, I always like I
Oh,
wasn't
you
ever,
played football?
I played football. I never was really
What
critical of
position
my
did
teams.
you play?
Depends on the year. So
Let's say the one that you felt like you did the best in.
Seventh grade. Then seventh grade,
What did you play?
I was first string fullback, and then I was like third string halfback, third string.
That's pretty cool.
And then second string return team, which was really weird. Or kickoff team, not even return team. I didn't even play on the return team, which was real weird.
They wanted you to run full speed and smash someone, though.
Dude, they did. That's why I got moved to linebacker the next year. Like, as a halfback, that was my entire point of fullback, was I never really touched the ball unless there was a fumble, but otherwise my entire job was to be the guy that just ran in front of the running back and just fucking like speared people out of the way. Not actually spearing them, but like, you know, like that was my entire job. That was,
a lane.
no matter what play we did, I was making a lane. It didn't matter what play it was. That was my job. And like the coaches learned I didn't really know many of the plays, and they're just like, all right, Nick. So the way they taught me it is like I didn't read the field at all. It was just like, Nick, whenever we call for he calls for this play, you make a lane here. Whenever he calls for this play, you make a lane here. That was it. I was the stupidest fucking fullback in the league, dude. I didn't know any of the actual like what the plays meant everybody else was doing. I just knew what my job in that play was. It was so funny, which is why I was never critical of anyone else. I didn't know what they were supposed to do. So like when I learned like they were just teaching me my job, I wasn't ever really critical of anybody else in football. And then like most of my other sports weren't really like sports that I could be critical of other people. Bowling is much more about individual. Fencing is much more about individual. Cycling is definitely individual. Like all of my other sports weren't really team sports, so a lot of my background's not huge on team stuff like that. So like I come into the league and it is a lot more team stuff, and the only real team thing that I had done was football, but I had coaches that were always critical on me and other players, so I kind of always just kind of ipso facto default into a shitty coach role. Like even though I'm one of the players, like I just kind of like I'm always in that mentality of criticizing everybody else, but I'm used to somebody else criticizing me previously. But now I'm not even used to that anymore. So I'm at the point, like, between other shit that went on in my life, like, I don't take critique very well in certain times. Like, when it just happened, unless I am prepared and I'm telling people I want critique, specifically critique, that's a thing. If I'm arguing why I think something went wrong, mentally, most of the time, I'm not usually prepared for somebody to be critical of me. And it just pisses me off. And it just even if it is my fault that the play went south, even if it is a situation where I caused the problem in the play, like I'm not subconsciously, I'm just not there. I have a lot of mental health issues. It doesn't always doesn't always persist, but I have some massive repressed anger issues that I have been trying to work through for the past 9 years or so,
I believe in that.
and
That makes sense.
unfortunately, it just it manifests in League of Legends more so than anything else. I could play fucking Minecraft. I ain't gonna be mad unless you're burning down my house for no reason. Like, I can play other games, CS:GO. Like, I'm mad if somebody else isn't killing, but like again, there's a difference in shooters than in strategy games like this. Shooters is more about your individual skill or figuring out your role on the team based off of how good or bad you are. And I make up for not being always the best of shots in CS:GO by just being very aware of the map. Like, I'm very good on sound cues and shit like that, and so like I just use that to my advantage and give people tons of info.
You can sort the order of your playlist on YouTube, right? Because I was gonna say your Dangerous Game podcast playlist is not in order.
Yeah, I need to go back and
And it
resort
doesn't
it
have
because it
all of
used.
them. It doesn't have them.
Yeah, I think it's like the last like
Also,
10,
I found your
5,
L
6.
channel and I kind of want to watch some of the videos though. But you have one that's how
Dude,
to overcome ranked from like, oh,
okay.
how to overcome silver. My bad.
Oh yeah.
From
So
like
that's when I was hitting
2015.
gold. I think that was the season I got to gold, and so I was telling people how I was doing it and why they're bad. It was, oh god, like going back and rewatching those videos is not fun for me because like, I mean, at the time, if I go back and look at the meta, like some of the shit I did was probably parroting better videos than mine, but like it's still bad. There was one of them that got like the most popular on the channel was like Narzi's versus the World, and it was talking about an old League YouTuber that was getting shit on by Uber Danger and Kiori for just being a League of Legends drama news channel thing. Yeah, it was, God. So like the funny thing though is like the channel I currently use to upload these videos is my old channel.
I was gonna ask why you abandoned this channel or didn't delete it.
I didn't delete it because I just didn't care. But so this channel was my old channel where I put my first couple of League videos, which I have taken off because I went and re-looked at them. And I was like, I thought they were funny videos, like they weren't serious ones, and they were bad, dude. They were horrible.
Dude,
but I was like 14 at the time.
You gotta leave.
So
you gotta leave the one where I talk up, because sometimes I go back and I'm like, wow, this was an interesting conversation.
The old podcast.
Yeah. Dangerous Game, episode 2, Sarc Nose League.
Yeah.
I don't remember what we talked about or everything, but I remember it was an interesting talk. I think I remember you like bringing up different buffs and nerfs and asking my opinion on all of them.
So that was the original plan of the old podcast. Was it was supposed to be discussing each week by week, or like all the patch changes. Every time the patch happens, how are the patches? How did this last patch feel to you guys? How did these buffs feel to you guys? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And nobody was ever prepared for it. I was the only one that ever read patch notes, so like nobody was ever prepared.
The other big thing was that it's hard for me to like have a strong opinion on that stuff or see anything like noteworthy because I don't really have strong opinions on that stuff. For the most part.
Yeah.
When people get buffed and nerfed, I'm just kind of like, whatever. I'll play League. Whatever I like playing, that's what I'm gonna play. I don't really care what gets nerfed or buffed.
Yeah.
And if I don't like playing, then I'm just not gonna play. That's kind of how it works for me, at least. But wow, it looks weird looking at the old client and shit too.
Yeah.
Forgot about this. But we're getting totally off topic.
That's how podcasts go, though, ain't it?
Yeah, definitely. We're supposed to talk about how your game's going.
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about that, but we got way off topic here.
Definitely. Oh, I talked to 2 of your teammates, dude, by the way. Okay. I talked with Angel because I saw Angel messaging or posting and looking for team chat.
Yeah, you said he was just looking for another team just
cause. I was like, bro, did you get kicked off or something? Did you guys like disband after you lost your jungler since Nick was gone? And then him and I talked a bit. He showed me those messages, and then I talked to your boy that ran the team, and he basically just said kind of what you said, where he was really annoyed, like the game where you played Yasuo when you were Tarek and you were really behind, and not that you were behind, but that you kind of just went off on him during the game, and it was really awkward. And then after the thing, he saw the interview where you kind of were still putting him down, and he didn't like that.
I put his Yasuo down 1 point, like one comment about his Yasuo, and he got real mad about it.
I don't think he took it that way. But yeah. I mean, it's an interesting It's an interesting situation since now you know how I feel sometimes, eh? where you're just pointing out a few things that you didn't really like, and then someone takes it as if you're personally attacking them. I don't mean that. And
Oh,
then,
got it. I was trying to
I
pick
mean,
that
like,
together. I was like,
yeah,
did I do this to you? When did I do this type of
no, no,
shit to you?
no,
You're
no. I
talking
don't
about
mean it
my
in a super
reference.
bad way. Yeah, I just mean it in the sense where to you, you probably don't see it as like a huge deal or anything, right? But then to him, he feels like it's a lot worse than it actually is. And I'm not sure if it is. I guess it depends on who you're asking.
I guess.
So,
I mean,
but the one thing I definitely remember is during our scrims, bro. I watched you between the games, bro, and you fucking went off on your teammates. That was funny.
I had everything
Oh,
muted. I didn't want them
man.
hearing any of that.
Yeah, they didn't hear it, but I heard it, bro.
Oh,
Holy
I know
shit, dude.
your team heard it.
You
You're like in
fucking. Go ahead.
I yeah, you like your entire team was watching. I went and looked. I was like, why did my viewers spike up? And I look, and your entire team enjoyed my fucking
It
lobby to
was
listen.
only me, and then I was like, holy shit, he's going you off. And then I was like, guys, listen to this. I never want us to do this. And then they listened and they found it pretty funny too. But you're going off on your team, bro.
I was getting
You're
so
mad at
pissed with them. I was
everyone.
just so fucking mad because like they keep talking about like the big thing that they would talk about was like communication, and then it was just like, oh, we need to like make a play, like we need to talk over plays. Like if the play is bad, we need to say, hey, we think this is bad. Like that was like what our mid laner kept saying. Like you know I should be here to kind of like question your plays in case it's a really bad play. Well, anytime a bad play would happen, he's all in for it. But anytime a good play, like so, for instance, like when that Trundle was at Grump, and I called for both of them to come in to help close in on him, he didn't say anything. Jeremy, our top laner, is like, all right, I'm in position. I'm in position. It's like, all right, Yasuo, come on. He's like, I don't think we can fight him. Like after me and him had already been pushing in to collapse on the Trundle, like we were already like two of us had already committed. We'd already said yes, we're doing this, and he didn't say anything before that. Before we got into position, we're asking where he is, and then he's just like, at the point that we'd already committed to attacking, he's like, I don't think this is a good play. I don't think we win this. And then like we died, and he's like, yeah, I don't think we should have gone for that. And so like that's where I went off. Like I was pissed because like Trundle's massively overextended at this point. If he moves from his position, yeah, he's in like an. I think he was like slightly behind on the farm, like it was slowly pushing into him. But the enemy mid hadn't moved at all yet. The enemy top hadn't even moved yet. He was trying to shove in top. So like if Yasuo came in there, like we could probably burst Trundle just because Yasuo has enough damage, or get Trundle's flash and force him out of my jungle so I could get wolves and be okay. Like, because if he's not out of my jungle, I can't do wolves. He'll just come in and beat the shit out of me. And you're right, there's a good chance he could also just run away from this. But if we get him to flash and have to run away and be a little bit safer and sees that my team's starting to rotate, he might respect the fact, okay, his team's going to rotate and we could actually die from this. He could be an idiot and keep doing it, in which then we just, have people rotate and clean up kills. But, like, he got mad. Like, he's like, oh, no, I don't think this was a good play. We shouldn't have been doing that. And so, like, I'm mad at him at this point. I'm like, I'm so mad at this point from that comment. Like, I'm just like, if you rotated, we killed Trundle. You took too long. You didn't move. You're not listening to any of the fucking plays I'm calling. And you let me and Jeremy die. Like, I was pissed. I fucking got so mad. And, like, I yelled it. I'm not yelling it now because I'm not mad now. But, like, I was furious about it. And so like I popped off right after that. I was like, look, you want us to fucking do something here? I need assistance. He's already massively ahead. I can't farm my jungle. So you either fucking rotate or we lose this goddamn game. And he refused to rotate. From that point on, he didn't want to rotate anymore. He then goes 0-4 or 0-5 in lane. Bot lane's like, we can win through me. And I was like, I cannot do anything. Like, I got to level 6 at 14 minutes. Like, I was like, I can't contest dragons. I can't contest dragons. I can't, like, do fights. Like, we could take a fight if we outnumber them and we know that their jungler's not there to immediately back them up. We can take that fight. And so, like, I tried to play through bot lane that game, but I was already so massively behind. Like, there was nothing I could really do at this point. Mid was massively behind, top's massively behind. And so, like, his comment was that you lost us that game with that early invade. You put the entire top side behind, blah, 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 blah. And so, like, I commented to him during that. I was like, look, my invade didn't go well. I know it. It's not a fucking thing that went well. Griff, and I was like, it's a bad call by me. I didn't expect them to just back and just 5-man check their fucking red side. Like, I don't know of anybody who does that, who just backs and then 5-man check the red the red buff after they just tried to invade on the enemy side. Like, it to me that didn't make any sense, like that choice, because like if I'm not there, their bot lane's massively out of position and they have to rotate all the way to the bot and they lose the first wave. Like, if we are not there, they lose so much from that play. That is such a risky choice when they didn't have a single bit of, like, I went back and watched the VOD, they didn't have a single ward that caught us. Azir wasn't in position to see us. Like, they had nothing on that side of the map to know that we were actively there. So, like, it was just such a risky play by them that caught me off guard, and I admitted that to them. Like, it caught me off guard. It wasn't what I expected to have happen. Yes, that set us behind. Jeremy was playing pretty okay still to that point. Like, you weren't massively behind at that point. Like, I was the only person behind at that point. And, like, that's still doable. As upset I was getting when I was 0-3 is still doable. What pissed me off the most was him not coming in when the call by me and another player was that we were going to go for it. But, like, he didn't see it that way. He just saw it as that. And then Griff probably made it worse for him when Griff asked him to not play Yasuo anymore. He said, can we just not play Yasuo anymore? And then when the ADC's like, can we just not play Taric? Both mid, top, and Griff. Well, Griff didn't say anything, but Griff was like, eh. And then, like, mid and top were both like, no, it could work. Like, because it had almost worked in that one game versus you guys.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. You guys did okay at the start.
Yeah, we started off okay, but, like, we had a hard comp to execute that game. So, like, I wasn't, like, that game I wasn't super pissed on. I was really pissed after game 1. That's where I had the giant rant. Game 2, I didn't really have a rant after that. Game 3, I was very mad. I was super upset game 3.
You just looked depressed. I felt bad. But,
Yeah.
alright, I found the moment you're talking about, but...
So, like, he doesn't tell us what the...
I get that if he came, it probably would have gone way better. But I feel like, just looking at the map, you can tell that, like... I don't think it was so much you, it was your Ornn. Because you kind of already were like, I'm not sure where he is. He's not even on my grump anymore. Because he ran around to the blast cone, you know?
Yeah, and then Ornn was over there.
You kind of already, like, didn't give anything up. Because he didn't steal your grump. He was already leaving because he thought that he was getting collapsed on. And then your Ornn randomly engaged on him. And Yasuo already bailed out, like, because he wasn't on your grump. It seems like as soon as you guys saw that he wasn't doing grump, Yasuo just stayed mid.
Yeah. Like,
and he kind of was staying mid the whole time. Like, I see Trundle on your grump. Yasuo's not rotating. Like, I feel like here, when he, like, starts to run away, you guys don't need to force anything, because you can see that your Yasuo clearly is not helping.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this in the sense where,
no,
well, you made the right call, or he made the right call. It's more of a...
He's just not doing anything. We need to just not expect him.
It's exactly what I told you before, right? You're putting all the power in someone else's choice. Like, it's not... If you go in here, all the choice is whether or not he's going to follow you. And if he doesn't follow you, then you're just fucked. And you're putting it in his choice instead of your own. Because here you can just let him go. He was going to use a blast cone to leave anyway. You get your grump, you don't lose anything, and then you can just leave and clear your bot side. And it wasn't your fault completely here either. Because once Ornn went in, you kind of had to back him up, right? Like, because he was going to die, because the set was coming down too.
Yeah.
But, so that was just kind of a shitty situation overall, that none of you kind of were on the same page. I think if all of you abandoned, or all of you came in at the same time, it would have worked. But instead, half of you did one thing, half did the other. And that's a normal thing, not just in a team environment, but in solo queue. That you're going to have to figure out, hey, what do these guys want to do, and what do I want to do? And if I do this, will I need to rely on him to help? Because if I do, that means that he could potentially fuck me. And,
I think that was the biggest thing that really upset me about it.
And you don't want to do that in solo queue.
And I think that was the biggest thing that upset me about those games, was they just felt so solo queue-esque. They didn't feel like we were working together as a 5-man team. Even though we had fucking comms, it just felt like I was just in a fucking call with rando. Just, there was never a connect. Like, we never connected on the same page at any point. The only people that did was, like, me and Jeremy were starting to connect a little bit better. Like, the few games I played with mid in solo queue, I fucking had to goddamn carry his ass on volley air. Like, as a champion I've never really played, a champion I, again, is just reworked, and he was just playing so fucking badly, and it was just like, all right, like, his understanding of when he needed to gank, how he needed me to gank, just didn't work. Also, like, at that time he couldn't comms because I guess his kid was asleep or something in the same room as him, so he like couldn't like get in comms. But he tried to excuse it as we need to be able to get in sync without having to tell each other what we want to do. And I was like, no, that's not how that. No, that's not how that works at all. And then he's like, well, I can't get on comms right now anyways. I was like, okay, that's a fine excuse. That's okay if you can't get on comms. Like, trying to come up with this reason of, like, we just need to be able to know what each other's thinking just by playing with each other and learn how each other like to play like that. I was like,
that is a key thing. I think not that you should want to do that, but naturally, if you play with each other enough,
we're going to do that naturally. Like, it's not something we should be trying to achieve, because the more you try at it, the more you're actually going to end up misreading things in the future, right? Like, because you're going to no matter what you're going to do, you're training yourself now to think about what you think they're going to do, opposed to just kind of muscle memory, knowing how you play around them and what's been successful, what hasn't been. So, like, I feel like that makes you overthink a situation more, opposed to helping you just kind of get it become natural feeling, right? Like, that's at least how I felt about it.
I mean, I feel like both of those things are over time, or like the same thing. You will naturally be able to play with someone if you play with them enough, regardless of comms. But I get what you're saying, where you that's what you want to get to, but you shouldn't use that as a way to practice. Like,
yeah, that shouldn't be your excuse for why we need to practice without comms. Like, we're gonna be playing with comms
you're
throughout
gonna
all
be
our
playing
games.
with comms. That's the point.
Like, that was my logic to it too. I was like, none of that made sense. But like that was a little upsetting. And then we played the games together, and then it was just like, he doesn't know how to use his pinging system, like, at all. Like, very rarely does he ping. I'm pretty bad about pinging. But, like, whenever I would say, if I'm not in a voice con with somebody, I'm a bit better at pinging things. I'm usually better at being like, hey, question mark, there's somebody over here somewhere, but I don't know exact. Or, like...
I do that when I do it, too. I forget to ping, because I'm just talking to the person I'm playing with.
Yeah, if I'm just talking to them, if I'm in comms, I don't ping as much.
I my top die when my mid roams, and I'm like, oh yeah, I called Mia because my ADC is my duo, but then I forgot that he could have gone top.
Sometimes I talk to them about that. They're like, why is there no me? I was like, literally, I said it in voice chat. I completely forgot you're not in voice chat. And sometimes the people are like laughing about it, and then other times the people just like go off like, why are you in voice chat? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, Vitox. Like, my bad, bud.
I get mad about it.
Yeah, they do. But like, in terms of like personal experience with it, it just like, to me, it felt like, I guess because it felt so solo queue-esque and there wasn't that overview like coach that I was hoping for, which is the whole reason I stepped aside from the slightly less competitive team, was because they told me up front, like, we don't have a coach, we don't have a whole lot of infrastructure, we're looking to kind of like self-coach ourselves, but we're also looking to just have fun. And I was like, okay, like, I'm cool with being a sub for your team, like, but I am looking for something competitive. I'm looking for something.
I team with 11D11 or whatever, right?
Yeah,
that guy's team seems cool as fuck.
They're really nice guys. I still drop by there and just say hi to them. But like, and I checked in on them how their game went, and they lost, and I was like, oh, guys. And I was like, just remember, if you guys ever need anything, like, I'm here to help. And the mid laner from it and I had actually pretty good synergy. The mid laner on that team was a hell of a lot better than mid laner on my second team. And
wait, he was 11. He was a beast, dude. He was the mid laner, right? I think that was it.
Selena Maria Gomez.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was that guy. Yeah, that guy was a beast, dude. His Zoe was.
He's really good at Zoe. He's actually pretty solid at Victor, even though he doesn't really play him. But like me and him played some solo queue games, and even though we didn't lose them, I wasn't upset about them. Like, I felt like in those games, like, we both actually played pretty well in those games, opposed to in the solo games I played with the other mid laner. I felt like I had to play above and beyond what my normal play style is, like, just to get him to a point where he wasn't inting. Like, it felt so, like, rough. And then when we were playing our games and our scrims, it just felt like solo queue. Like, I was the only one communicating half the time. Like, you even mentioned that during the tryouts with them, was like, why is nobody else on your team talking? Like, it was like, most of the time in most of our scrims, it was me doing most of the talking. And like, we're like, hey, we need bot to do talking. And then finally in the games on Saturday, the ones we finally win, our support was talking more. Like, our support and me were the ones shot calling. Our ADC was occasionally shot calling. Like, between the three of us, there was actually communication more. Like, there wasn't there was a bit more connection there, and that was where I was like, okay, maybe I won't quit the team. Like I was on that verge of like, okay, I probably at this point, like, they're actually stepping up in some of the ways that I was like really getting upset about of them not doing things. They actually stepped up to it quite a bit to the plate there. And then, I make a mistake and the guy gets really fucking mad about it because, in similar ways like you said, like how I kind of get mad at you. But a lot of the time, I think I also get a lot more mad at you because a lot of the time what you're saying comes through text. So I also just don't hear any inflection of your voice. Even as monotone as you are, there's sometimes I can tell when you're being like critical and when you're trying, like when you're sounding like, to me, sometimes when you sound like you're being rude. But like whenever somebody texts me, like I just always read it with a dour tone, and I don't know why. Like I
Oh
always,
my god, you played with someone I know. Oh my god, you played with two people I know. Oh
when
my. A month ago. Inside and Fnatic. They were joking in the game. It was a team of top and he mid. What the fuck? This guy doesn't even play mid. And also, what the fuck? How
wait,
is he?
how do you know Fnatic?
I played ranked against him.
I
And then
play.
I
So
saw.
I follow him and I listen to his music and I chat with him on occasion because of that shit.
Oh, shit,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I became friends with
Yeah,
him
I think
because of those games.
follow him and then so. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
it was like in season 5. It was like I hit diamond, and then I think it was the same season he hit diamond for the first time. So we played like a few games together. Kind of
So
happened to be on the same team. And then he linked his stream after the chat or after the game.
Fnatic's a
And
really cool dude.
then
He's a really
I
nice
looked
guy.
at his stream, and there was like that highlight where he like pops the fuck off and about how he got diamond for the first time. And I was just like, bro, this is pretty hilarious. And then inside was his duo friend.
So
Back then too.
Inside's toxic
So,
as fuck, dude.
yeah, I was gonna say I actually unfollowed him recently because he's toxic as fuck.
I
But
don't.
when I
I
met
never
him, he was
followed
like a
Inside, but
chill Rengar.
I
He was
followed.
like a chill Rengar player when I met him.
I follow Fnatic because he's pretty chill. Like,
And
he's pretty
it,
cool
it
dude.
was actually the other way around when I first met him. But
That's
I think it's
fucking funny
because,
though.
yeah, I think it's because like Fnatic kind
He
of has
he's popped off
like
more like as a musician
he's,
and stuff. Like
yeah,
he's kind of has more face, I think, because of it.
not just that, but like when he had diamond for the first time, I think he was like very he was ready to like, yo, let's see how high I can go, like what I can do. And so he was much more like into the game, trying to climb.
Okay, kind of
And
more or less
then
like my attitude,
yeah,
where
and
it's
then
just
he
like,
kind of like chilled out way more after like he's gotten diamond for like 3 or 4 seasons, and it's like, all right, like this is
I
what I'm at. I just play games for fun now,
yeah,
or to chill,
and
and inside still trying like
it's super
to
hard.
push as far as he can into
Yeah,
diamond. Yeah, because he gets to like D2. I think it was D3 this season. Somehow he's down to P3. I think now. That kind of sucks. But anyway,
when I played with them, they were both plat 4.
yeah, it's really rough.
But I think that's another big thing as well. It's just like you actually probably just hit one of my biggest problems on the head right there by accident, which was the factor of like I try so damn hard that my mental becomes so ingrained in this game that if I fail at it, I'm just immensely angry, and I have to find something to be
Yeah,
angry at.
I know that feel
Because
too.
like if I become angry at myself, like then I go and kind of more depressed and I become demoralized. So like if
It's,
I become angry at somebody else, it doesn't really help me, but it helps me deflect my anger, but it's not good. Right? Like that's still
yeah,
not a good
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So
The
like
reason why I can't
it's a
play a lot.
no-win situation.
The reason why I can't play a lot, and especially when I lose, is because I do go on like that mental. I get more irritated than normal, and then it's like you said, I blame myself. I think about bad things that I did, or that I could have played better, and then it really irritates me, and then it just makes me not want to play, and then I don't play. So,
Yeah, this
yeah.
weekend really kind of got me into that mood to why I took a couple of days off playing other games in the end. It was like I would watch videos and I was like, man, I really want to play some champions right now. And then I go into the league and it's like, I really don't want to though. Like I lost so much of my like Tarek failing in the team mode really fucked with me. Because I was just doing so well in Flex with it. Like I was coming off of massive win streak on Tarek and Flex. It was like I say massive, it was like 4 games, but like still, like for me right now, that's a pretty massive streak. Seeing as I can't fucking string together 2 wins, let alone even just 1 win.
Yeah, but in fights you're also playing. It's like fucking bronze plays.
Yeah, well, like there's like 4 bronzies and then one other Smurf in the game, so it's just literally me versus him, and who can carry the other fuckers better. And half the time they're in top lane, so it's like a lot harder for them because I just get to go shit on whatever their jungle is Tarek, and it just makes it even more insult to at that point. But like, it's yeah. So like, that's also another big thing. It's like I want to use flexes like my training ground type of things, but like the disparity in skill, even just from my flex to my normal solo, is massive. Right? Like I can practice like the mechanical aspects of things down there, but like even looking at like trying to improve my macro game in flex, it's not going to translate
Yeah, because you're not gonna get
100%.
punished.
Yeah, like I'm not
You're
going to
not
get
gonna
punished
get
for things.
punished.
So things that I'm like, oh man, this like for instance like my Trundle stuff, like that artificial like 68% win rate I had on Trundle for the longest time, and how I thought that strategy was amazing. Like a lot of that strategy kept going really well because I was super confident. But I finally run into somebody who's either smurfing or somebody who's in mid to high plat that has learned how to efficiently jungle the way you're supposed to, or at least closer to the way you're supposed to, and I get dicked.
Or better than the people you're against.
Yeah, by quite a bit, right? Like I'm playing against people that are either have no understanding of it, but I also like a big part of that came down to also like when they started buffing the jungle. So like beginning this season, the reason I was finding jungle so much of a better role for me in the end was like nobody was playing it, so very few people were actually any good at it. So one, I wasn't ever getting autofilled. Two, the people I was against were just trash, which is also why I used like I was playing ADC for so long. But ADC itself is just in even with the buffs is in such a bad fucking spot that like
No,
even
no. Jungle sucks right now.
and then
I don't know.
jungle's in a weird spot. Like I don't know, like because it's supposedly supposed to be this hard farm meta, but then like your lanes are also so fucking aggressive that like if you don't help them all the time, they fall behind, and then you have four people behind, and then you might be
Yeah,
ahead.
it's a
But like,
classic jungle scenario, right?
it's
It's like
like
every
I
jungle
have to figure
scenario.
out how to help them and keep myself ahead. Like there's so much more micromanaging, and it's not even like micro mechanics. It's literally micromanaging your lanes, like figuring out ways to keep them from being a dumbass at inting, while without causing yourself to fall behind in the process. And unfortunately, I have never been that type of jungler. I had always been the I'll punish their jungler, or I'll go for objectives, or I'll just hard farm. Like I'm one of those. I can fit into one of those three, and then like into the mid game, I'd be more team fight supportive type jungler. But I'd never been like the superb how to puppy dog a lane type jungler, or how to hard carry by just snowballing off kills jungler, which are the two that I see the ones winning the most right now. Are the ones that can just like play something like Rengar or Kha'Zix or Kane and just kind of like get kills and snowball off. But like I can get kills on
Mm,
Kane,
I
but I'm
don't
not
play
as
those.
familiar on him, so I don't know how to fucking do that. And then like I'm trying to learn how to adapt my jungle champions to the fucking meta. But like I'm getting so tilted from other things, and then just my teammates being naturally so fucking toxic that it's like my mental is not in the right place to be able to actually do these
Gotta
things.
mute. That's what I have to do.
Fucking mute all.
Yeah, fucking mute all, bro. I need to win another game on Echo. I'm on like the 59%. I might should kill you. But I don't know. I feel like it's nice to hear you say that stuff because I wasn't sure what you thought you were good or bad at in the jungle, but I definitely agree that. Or I feel like you're making it sound way more complicated than it is too, for the most part. Like managing your teammates, managing
I don't
how
know.
to farm versus how to gank. Like,
So
for the
like,
most part, I feel like maybe it's just because it's come to me naturally, so it feels simple.
well, also, how long have you played the jungle role as your primary role?
I don't even play jungle as my primary role now. I only play jungle on my fucking team because she can't find a better jungler and she won't let me mid. She's just like, no, it's easier to find a decent mid than to find a decent jungle. So you're gonna play jungle. I'm not letting you in. I'm just like, whatever, whatever. But yeah, and then I was like, you know what? I'll find the jungler, and then I can mid. And then I tried to find the jungler, and I was just like, you know what? I'll just play jungle.
All right, this is the plan, Sark. You help coach me into becoming that decent jungle, and then I'll play jungle so
I
you
mean,
can
you
mid.
actually. Oh, yeah, my team's not gonna play with you after they set you from the team.
Oh damn,
Sorry, Nick.
sad day.
They do not have a positive perception of you. Not even as a player, just as how you view your teammates.
I don't know. I feel like that team specifically also brought it out in me because my previous team I had nothing but good things to talk about. As much as they weren't like, the best players I've
Yeah,
ever played
I
with.
agree with that for sure. The
Like,
team with Selena Gomez and fucking
yeah,
Eleven. You
I
guys were
like
dope.
those guys a lot. Like, I also
Yeah,
liked them as
that
people
was
because they were also like it also felt to me like they were honest with who they were and how they were ready and like what level they were at too. Like they weren't trying to tell me, oh yeah, we've been a team for a while. Like we have all this structure, we have all this stuff. Like literally a day after I joined the fucking other team, their fucking captain quits because he can't I just can't do it. And like that's just such a like that already is already like a very bad feeling going into a team, right? Like that's already like kind of a red flag moment. Um, Also, all criticism they'd been giving to any other player at the time, one of the people that they were giving criticism to was the old ADC, which was the captain, and the way they were doing it was very much similar to my rant. Like that rant that I went on, that's what our fucking support did the day that our ADC quit. We literally went on this 10-minute tirade against our ADC. ADC leaves the call after the tirade and then tells us that he's not on the team anymore, that he wants to leave. Like, so like,
I feel like that's gonna happen again since the Angel guy was looking good.
probably
That's funny as fuck.
he's probably gonna leave another team there. Like, I was mad, but like I wasn't yelling at them. I didn't want my team to hear that I was getting so fucking frustrated at them. Like I wanted to try to be constructive with them, but like I'd already been kind of pushed to my limit at that point with them. Like they'd already kind of pushed me to that limit because they kept asking, "What can I do to improve? What are some of the things I did?" And I was like, I went with the simple things first. And the first thing I mentioned to them, well, learn your champion's items. If you're gonna play a champion, learn what the key items are on that champion. Learn if you can what items you can change at what point in your build you can change early on to slightly adjust your itemization versus a different matchup. And they're like, so like what? And I was like, all right, so like let's look at like you're against somebody with a lot of healing. What do you itemize early on? They're like executioners or Morello or whatever the hell. And I was like, exactly, grievous wounds. You go for grievous wounds. You get that early. Well, when do we get it? It depends on how the lane matchup's going. Are you behind? Then you get it early. Like if you are behind, you get it kind of early because it helps nullify their ability to continuously push a lead on you. Like it got proven. Was it you guys that played Jason to his Silas mid?
I don't know what our mid laner was.
Somebody played Jason to the Silas mid, and
Yeah,
he was
that one.
upset. He was very upset that he was losing the lane, and he wanted me to help him, but I couldn't help him. Like I was never really in a position to assist him because of the fact that like when I would go to try to assist him, yeah, it was because there's no because you didn't play Talia. Who the fuck played Talia? Did you play Talia? You didn't play Talia.
No, I didn't.
That was a different game then, different scripts. But anyhow, he's playing Silas, and the guy early like first item back buys Executioner into Silas. And then our Silas kept losing fights, and he couldn't figure out why. And I was like, because he built Executioners. Like, you're not healing off your W almost at all now. Like, even though you're maxing it, your heal is so much worse now because he just autos you once and you get half of what you're going to be healing. Like, that makes you a killable champion for him. And, like, that didn't stick to them. There were so many games, like, that they just never itemized that way. Or the only person that itemized it was our top laner, who was playing tanks. So he's itemizing Thornmail versus a Soraka. Or versus a Vladimir. And he couldn't figure out why his grievous wounds weren't applying. And I had to point out to him, they have to auto-attack you to have it proc on them.
Honestly, it really annoys me when people build Grievous this Vlad. Because I like playing Conquer, and if they're melee and laning, I literally just auto them to like 4 stacks and then Q them, and it does so much more damage. But yeah, when they build Grievous, I can't do the cheese Conquer stacks, you know?
Yeah. Or even then, like, your trades become a little bit more... a little bit
Yeah,
more
yeah.
muted.
Either if you choose between less heal because you're autoing them, or less damage because you're not autoing them.
Yeah.
It's like 3 or 4 auto attacks build up pretty fast, especially early levels, and especially when Conquer is involved.
And I made the point to them, I was like, look, early on, that early Bramble is going to stop Vlad from being able to dick you in the lane. That makes perfect sense. That's a good choice for you, Jeremy. But as the game goes on, we need one of our other two people who can build it optimally, because I was playing another tank. It's like, I can build another Bramble, but that's not going to solve the problem here, right? Like, if all of their healing is coming from somebody who's going to be pressing abilities into the mid game, into the late game, Vladimir no longer has to auto. Like, there's a point where Vladimir hits enough CDR that he doesn't have to auto anymore. Ever. Like, he could, because it could help him stack Conquer and he can do more damage, or he could proc Electrocute if for some reason he's Electrocute Vlad, or Phase Rush if he's Phase Rush Vlad. But, like, there's a point where he just has enough cooldown that he doesn't have to. And so, because he doesn't have to, he's not going to if you have a Bramble. And that means there's nobody applying Grievous Wounds, and so the problem of him healing is going to persist. Like, sure, he loses a little bit of damage, but at that point in the game, it doesn't matter. His autos aren't his source of damage anymore. He's not laning, he's not trading. And, like, I tried to tell them about this type of idea. It just didn't stick. Every game we played, we were going against somebody who had massive amounts of healing in our sets. Like, we did, as a team, I think we did 4 or 5 sets of, like, best of 3s, except for y'all was the only one we did a set of 3. And they just didn't understand to itemize that way. On top of that, every time he played Yasuo mid, like, he went Bork build. Like, there was no if, and, or but about it. Didn't matter what the enemy team comp was, didn't matter who he was fighting against in lane, he always went Bork first item, which just confused and profounded me no matter what. Like, I could see it versus certain matchups. It's such a good build against very specific matchups. But, like, it felt like a silver player move, where they know one build and that's all they're going to do is build that same build no matter what, right? And, like, that was part of the things that really upset me about that team was, like, so our top laner started trying to learn things. I couldn't tell what our support was doing because he never told me anything. He never talked to me. He didn't do anything. He did things in game and stuff like that, but he never communicated what he was doing to try to improve. So I didn't know, verbally wise, if he was doing anything to improve. So, like, it was kind of upsetting not knowing if he's learning any of these things, which he started to pick up on some of them, but he did make a point that, certain ideas of one of our ADCs, how he wanted to lane opposed to how the sport wanted to lane, were very drastically different, right? Like, when to push a wave, how to crash a wave, when, like, timing-wise, they were very out of sync. And I was trying to, like, diffuse the situation, be like, well, in certain ways, he's correct. Like, trying to tell him, like, this is a Plat 1 ADC. The way he plays the game is going to be different than how you play the game. You're pretty decent support, but you're a Gold 3 support, and he's a Plat 1 ADC. Your game style is going to be very different. Like, that's a massive jump between your different ranks. So, because he is the ADC, and we're trying to talk about playing through bot, just try to talk to him out of game, and start trying to learn these things. Maybe play some customs with him, play some norms and stuff. Just kind of figure out how he wants you to play that lane and stuff like that. The guy was a bit toxic as an ADC. He ended up quitting the team, but, like, there was a guy that was possibly a dude that would have been our best ADC skill-wise in comparison to any other ADC if we could have gotten him. And then Angel was pretty good. But again, Angel had similar gripes. Like, Angel was pretty good. He seemed like a nice enough guy. A little bit on the toxic side here or there, but not much more than me. So, like, there was, but, like, he had similar complaints at times. Like, okay, like, the support's not doing exactly things that I want him to do, but, like, he was a little less, like, abrasive about it. So that allowed them to sync a little bit better, and then they kind of synced really fast. They played, like, 5 games together before our actual games, and really synced pretty fast. They were kind of on the same page when we got into our games. And he had a bit of an ego similar to me, where it was just like, this other guy's shit, I'm just gonna shit on them, and he did. And, like, so, like, when he had no respect for somebody, he was just gonna dick him around. And even the enemy jungler, like, I was not respecting that guy's Rek'Sai game 1. Even game 2, I didn't respect his Trundle. Like, even though he was dicking me down, like, there were points that I was, like, massively behind, and I still, prior to level 6, almost traded with him. Like, there was a few times that happened. I wasn't going to win, but, part of it I couldn't get out. I didn't have flash. Part of it was, fuck it, I could potentially win this. If he fucks up, I can win this. Kind of idea. And, that probably cost me some. And that's some of where, like, like you said, I'm so used to playing with people that are worse, against people that are worse than me, that when I actually had to play against somebody better than me, I don't necessarily respect them the way that I should, or I respect or I just don't play the way I should versus them, right? Like I kind of give either I do one of two things. I don't respect them and force myself into a loss because I'm just dying too often or I'm out of position too often and I constantly am just trying to play catch up to them, or I respect them too much and put myself in a deficit and let them just have so much control of the map that I just put myself in a deficit that way. So like I do one or the other. Like I'm not ever really playing my game, and I'm just naturally worse than they are because they are better than me. So like to a degree, there's one of two ways that I play it, and that naturally just loses me the confidence to continue trying to get better because it just like feels like there's this insurpassable mountain of people that are better than me, right? So, and that's where I get really depressed, and that's where I tell you like, I think I kind of want to quit League, and all that shit happens.
Yeah, I guess the difference for me is when I see a bunch of people better than me, it makes me want to get better instead of feeling the other way around.
For a while, I did like ADC. I felt that way. I also felt like I
Okay.
was very good at ADC, but you know, I was really good at Jin and Ezreal. Was really about it for ADCs. I wasn't very good at almost any other ADC at that point, but uh, Corki. But that's not really an ADC anymore, sadly. Neither is Graves or Urgot. All the ADCs I was good at, but I don't know. I think I just kind of have to figure out, is jungle the right role for me at this point? I don't think it couldn't be. It's just how much work am I willing to put in to make it the role that's right for me? Because there are champions in it that I enjoy playing. It's just I also don't know, like, I guess I have a lack of understanding of how strong I can be and how much I can honestly carry my team on tanks and how to do so. Because they definitely fit to my style better, like you said. They're safer. They allow me to still be aggressive, but they're somewhat safer.
Wait, what? Who did I say fit your style?
Huh?
Who did I say fit your style?
Tanks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because I can still be aggressive, and it's a little harder for people to fucking, to abuse if I do one misplay thing here. So, like, early on at least, it's better for me to kind of gain confidence back on them to a degree. The problem I'm running into with them is that I also just feel like I'm going into a game and I'm already behind just going into the game. Like, there's a point in the game, and pretty much every one of my games today too, where like I'm going dead even farm wise on the enemy jungler. I'm matching gank for gank, and then I die once, and I'm just 20 farm behind them. Like at that point, the next time I see them, they're 20 farm ahead of me, and I'm just like, how did this happen? I died once for like 15 seconds. How in 15 seconds? How did that big of a gap arise? Like it shouldn't have been that much, right? Like, so obviously there's something I'm doing wrong with my pathing. I guess once I've died, I guess I lose my tempo of how to do my pathing. I also just don't know how to path Krugs into my pathing. Outside of doing a first full clear, like there's not a situation that I generally find myself doing a Krugs where I don't feel like I'm giving up tons of tempo on the map if I do. But I don't know. I feel like I've done most of the talking today, Sark.
You kind of have. I don't have much to say, I guess. I don't know. I want to listen to what you thought about things, I guess.
I don't know. I think the only real thing that I could say, so like I've talked about all the things that I think I guess I still am doing. I guess I talked about the things I'm still doing wrong. I don't know. I think mentally I'm still just not in a very great spot for it. But I think one of the few things I have done well this week is learning how to level up without using my mouse.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I can use the macros now. Yay. It feels like such a small achievement. Like, I want to also like systematically break down jungle, the role, and kind of just work piece by piece on how to improve because I feel if I set smaller goals for myself, I can achieve those a lot easier than just becoming better is the
Yeah,
generalized term.
that sounds like a really good place to start.
But I don't know what those small pieces are. I don't know how
I
to
mean,
break it down and make them small
plenty
that
of
way.
like fucking jungle tutorial.
I guess watch a jungle tutorial and just kind of watch what they're talking about.
Yeah, listen to what they think you should do, how you should path.
I
I think
guess
usually Tarzan's videos are pretty good.
I don't fuck Tarzan.
I don't know. I don't really watch any.
Fuck Tarzan.
Kind of just play based on how I feel.
I don't know. I know I need to improve, but I'm like at that point that it's like I just feel so lost at knowing what I need to improve at. Like I just know there's something I need to improve at, but like seeing where my fault is
That's
hard.
this kind of brings me back to what happened the other day where you got really annoyed and you said I don't think you know that much about the game. I feel like if you did know a lot about the game and how to improve and stuff like that, or not how to improve, but a lot about the game, wouldn't you kind of be able to see the things that you need to improve at, or the things
See,
that are
that's not
going
always
wrong?
true though. That's not always true for everybody. Even like so, a lot of people can be blind to their own flaws. That's just human nature to quite a few points there. I don't also go back and rewatch my videos of where I fuck up. And I mean, I guess I could go rewatch it, but sometimes, if it's not like a super obvious, like, you know what, you pathed here opposed to pathing here, like if it's not a philosophical like breakdown of the identity of what small little nuances that is jungle, I might not know these things. Like,
I feel like
hey,
you just
I went to Gromp here, but I should have been at Wolves here because that would allow me to rotate to mid sooner. Like, that's not like, that's more of like just like knowing what to think at any given
I
time
don't
type thing.
even I don't even think that the stuff I point out is that deep. It's just more like I feel like most of the stuff that and when I point this is one thing that like I really don't get, which is like when I point out something in chat when I said and I feel like um I get it if it annoys you because clearly you probably know it was wrong too. When I was just like when you die or something, I'm just like oh yeah I wouldn't have done that. It's never meant to like be hypercritical. It's just more like I wouldn't have done that because it caused you to die. You know, it's never like me trying to explain to you how that was so wrong. Like clearly you probably know it's wrong too. Otherwise you wouldn't have died there. You know, like I'm sure you wouldn't have. That's the part where like it confuses me sometimes when you get really annoyed when I say that. Where it's like, I mean, your other option of not doing that is doing the same thing and dying again, which I feel like no one wants to do that if they're trying to improve.
Yeah, I mean,
And
the
I'm
comment,
and
but the
that's what
comment, I think
that's
the
like
reason the comment gets to me in those situations more often than not is it just feels like you're just like, oh, I wouldn't have done that. Like, that feels so, like, passive aggressive of, like, that's a stupid play. Like, you're stupid. Like, it's not like I'm trying to read into it, but
well, I
just, like,
mean,
the
it
tone
is a
of it,
stupid play, but
just the tone of it
it's not.
just, like, insinuates that I'm dumb for doing that. Like, I wouldn't have done that. Like
I mean,
it's kind of that same argument that somebody says like, oh yeah, and they're admitting to a mistake, and then the other person just says, I wouldn't have done that.
yeah, but
It's a statement of being better than the other person that doesn't add
okay.
anything for helping the other person, which
I
is why
feel
it
like
feels
I
like an
say a
attack.
lot of things in the sense of, man, that seems really dumb. But I feel like you've watched me play, and you know that I say that about my own plays so much. So to me, that just feels normal.
Yeah, except you don't say I
Like,
wouldn't done that about your own plays because you just did it. Like,
well,
it's the
I can't
choicing
say
of
that, right?
word.
I can't say I wouldn't have done that, but I meant in the sense where you felt like I'm saying, well, that was really dumb. But I feel like a lot of my plays, even when we're playing together, you can tell that like there's a moment where I do something really dumb, and then I die, and there's just that pause where we're both like, yeah, that
So
was really dumb,
So
and
what is I
that's
wouldn't have
not
done
like
that? What would have I saying I wouldn't have done that? What how does that help me though? How does that statement help
I
me?
mean, usually I tell you like, oh, I would have gone to clear that, or I would have gone to do some other thing. But then whenever I mention that, you're like, no, if I did that, then this would have gone wrong, or that would have gone wrong,
That's me
and
just being critical of the situation that you said that was another option.
yeah,
It's just
and
me being critical of that and saying why I did my own play.
yeah,
That is definitely me being defensive, but it's also like it's a natural reaction to when somebody says, if you specifically say I wouldn't have done that, I would have done this. Like, yes, that's pointing out something that I could have done that probably wouldn't have gotten me killed. But like then I point out like, what if I didn't do that? Like, okay, let's say I didn't do what I just did. Here's some other options of what could have happened. Like, there's other things that could have gone wrong in this situation. You know, a lot of times, the point that I try to make that you don't seem to agree on, though other people I know agree on the point, not necessarily that, it doesn't justify that my play is always the right play, but the point that I try to make is that the difference between a good play and a bad play is success or failure. Like, that's generally a big difference between, in a lot of League of Legends plays, isn't always like there's always this better play you can always make.
Yeah.
It's just that, if you pull it off, hey, it's a good play. If you don't pull it off, it's a bad play. Pointing out the things that could go wrong, and like you said, a lot of the times the plays I like to make in solo queue generally rely on somebody else not being a dumbass, which is putting the ball in their court, which then could be considered, the wrong choice of play. There's less risky plays in that situation there.
That's
But
one thing that I definitely don't agree with either. I don't think it's about whether or not someone's a dumbass. It's whether or not someone's willing to listen to you. And I don't think whether or not someone's willing to listen to you makes them a dumbass.
sometimes they're a dumbass. Sometimes it's like hey, this guy's at my wolves. He's two levels behind me trying to steal my wolves. I'm half health, and you're positioned there in the bush near the wolves backing. If you just stop your back at your half health, we just turn on him and kill him. Like, he's dead. Like, and then they're just like, nah.
I feel like you're using a scenario that there clearly is a right answer, but in most of the cases, when I see you randomly die or do something where you needed your teammate, there isn't like clearly a right answer.
So
There's a call to be
a
made,
lot of my early
and
deaths also come around crabs, right? Like, or were previously. A lot of my early deaths were because of crabs.
Yeah, I remember that.
But like a big part of that comes down to like the knowledge of what dude. Like, a lot of the times, like, I would always go for these crabs is because like I saw this stupid statistic, and I really wish I'd never seen it, which was just, like, the jungler that gets both early crabs has like a 69% win rate or some shit, like 68, 69, like a ridiculously high 60s win rate if you get both early scuttles. So like, in my mind, like, I just kind of like linked that to I have to get both crabs to win. Like, it wasn't like I could do something else to win. It was literally like the thought in my mind was I have to get both crabs to win. And like, yeah, that's a bad mentality to have. That's a bad reasoning to have, and that's a false statistic telling me what I need to do to win. It's kind of like, hey, just because this drags on the map, you have this bigger chance of winning or some shit like that. It's a false statistic type thing. Like, there's no actual correlation. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. There's no actual correlation. Like, hey, you're more likely to get died by lightning than a shark attack. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Lightning can hit me anywhere in the fucking world. A shark can only get me in the water. Like, I
think it's more like a situation where if neither player prios crab, then it's more likely that the better player will get two than that the worst player will get two.
Yeah, or if only one person's prioing the crab and gets both of the crabs, that person probably has more pressure over the map already, so that person's probably going to win anyways.
And he probably understands a better pathing or how to jungle better to where he can path to both crabs and somehow
and doesn't have to fight for them or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
it's just like the core. There is no like explanation for why that person's winning more. It's just like, hey, it happens to coincide with the fact that they're winning more if they had both crabs. Like, it's a coincidence more so than a actual like thing that was winning them the games. And it's a coincidence because there's other things that are in play that's already winning them the game, and they're just taking advantage of it and doing the other thing. And so, like, that wasn't always how I was breaking it down. I was just looking at the statistics and just being like, I have to get both crabs to win. So I was playing overly aggressive, and sometimes I was winning getting both crabs, and I was actually winning a lot when I was getting both crabs, but a big part of that was also because I'm taking fights and winning these fights. Like, it wasn't actually these crabs winning me the game, but, like, it was just like, I have to fight for these crabs. And if I win this fight, I win the game.
And it annoyed me so much because there were times where, like, you'd argue with me, then if you didn't get a crab, you like auto lost the game basically. And I was like, Nick, there's so many games where you got both crabs and you still lost the game. Like, and it wasn't because of you or anything. It was more like,
I went for these crabs, and because I was going for crabs, everybody else was dying on the map, and it was...
Or not just that. Yeah, I was gonna say, you're fighting over these crabs and getting upset that like your team doesn't come and help you, secure both crabs because you think that they're so important. But then like there are games where like you get both crabs, your team
It
helped you get
ties.
both crabs. Yeah, and then like your bot lane's like 0-10, and it's like literally the crabs don't matter.
Yeah.
The game doesn't matter when your bot lane's 0-10. And I'm not even saying that in the sense of
Like,
oh
I
well
could
if
have gone
you're
and
yeah
stopped them from
yeah
0-10. It's
yeah
just
yeah
like they
like,
already
it
lost us
just
the game. It
happens.
doesn't matter that I got both crabs. Yeah.
Yeah, like and
No, yeah, I get that. And I mean, like, I feel like my mentality is at least a little bit better than then. Like, I have a better understanding than I need to get both crabs to win game now. Like,
yeah.
at least. I mean, that's
Actually, hearing you say that makes me understand so much of what's going on back then. Because I remember
like,
pointing out so many
even
times where I'm like, bro, you're like living or dying by fighting over these crabs.
I
I
live by
don't
the crab,
understand
die by the
why.
crab, motherfucker.
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand why they matter so much to you.
But
But
like,
now
it
that
was
you
also funny
explain that you
because
read that,
even back
like, it's
then,
like,
like, but the funny thing that this is just a random coincidence correlation to it too is like, as negative as my mentality was when I didn't get those crabs, I was also just winning games more on Trundle then too because I was just being overly aggressive and it was just paying off. Like I was doing stupid things that were just paying off because the other person was like, either they weren't able to compute like why is he being this stupid and just die to me, or they were just worse than me and dying to me. Like there was times definitely there was a better jungler in the game than me, and I still managed to fucking beat them down because I was just doing stupid things that they were just like, why is he doing this? And like, or their team wasn't responding, and so I was just a stronger Trundle at that point, so I was just beating them down at that time. Like there was just coincidences of stuff that was going on that was going well for me during that time, and like my mind at that time was also just correlating that to, oh wow, this crab statistic that I read obviously makes sense. These games that I'm getting 2 crabs, I'm winning. And it's like, no, it's just because their team's not paying attention, or their jungler's just way worse than me. Like it wasn't like, even like, there wasn't really much I was gaining from it. I think one of the big things that I think I do well, and I know that I'm doing it better than most junglers in my elo and even slightly above me, is vision, right? Like, I do bitch about it a lot. I do
you know,
hate vision a lot, but I'm
you know,
constantly
yeah,
controlling vision as much as I can. And like I think like my average vision score is like 35 to 40 or something like that in a game, which is still pretty good with, without playing champions that are using what you call it, the Umbral Glaive or anything like that. Like I'm getting pretty good vision scores with just buying Red Wards and Sweeper. Like, but it only does so much, right? Like when I'm with a duo, I think it definitely helps me win games with my duo, and kind of hide the fact that I have a lot of flaws in my micro and macro, because of the fact that I can always have safer vision pathing for them, have ideas of where the enemy jungler is by being able to put vision down for them. So I'm doing these small things that when I have a smart duo partner, they can see these things and back off. And so it makes it feel like I have more presence on the map, even though I have no presence on the map half the time, which is also kind of weird because I went from being this guy that was always trying to exude my presence as Trundle, big stick, big dick boy, but like now I'm like always feeling like I'm playing from behind. No matter what game I go in, I feel like I'm already behind. Like, and it's just such a weird feeling to go from one drastic extreme to the other. So like I really have to kind of just find my niche again, and I think that was like my biggest flaw this week was like, even last week, even right after the podcast to that, like I went in looking at those teams like I was, I had big dick ego again because like there's so many teams trying to pick me up as a jungler. Even though I made the comment that I was like, I just demoted out of plat, why are all these teams looking for me still? And it was just like, because statistically I still had pretty good stats on my champions. But unfortunately, I'm also only really practiced on 2 or 3 champions. So it's actually kind of easy, even though I know how to play a lot of champions, I'm not very practiced on them. And that correlation really didn't kick into me until some of these scrims where I'm playing and I'm just getting dicked out by the enemy jungler. These are champions that I've done so well on in other games and stuff like that. But there was also other scenarios that allowed me to do so well on it. I had a more aggressive mid laner who always took priority of things. I had a more talkative support in bot lane duo. I had a top laner who, while they could play weak side, could also beast out on weak side and play strong side. Like, there was other situations that were allowing me to feel like I was more powerful than I was, and it allowed me to, like, it enabled me almost, right? Like, I'm kind of the inverse of you. You go in and you enable your team. Like, you don't always make the like the flashy super carry plays, but you would enable your team to do things. I feel like I have to be enabled by my team, and that's just
Yeah,
how I've
yeah,
played,
that's
and that's how
actually
I've played for.
that's something that I really agree with.
And I feel
Like
like that also comes
that's what
from.
confused me about the diamond thing you made the other day, because I feel like when you talk about like plays that you want to make or things that happen, you always it's like what I said, where you let the ball be in your teammate's court, and if the teammate doesn't help, then you feel like they let you down because you didn't get to do what you wanted because they didn't help you. Whereas, and this has been in everything I do, the way I played soccer, the way I played most sports or games with people. I I want to be like the guy where no one has to ask it, or anyone can ask like me to do anything, and I want to be able to do it, and I don't want to feel like I have to ask my teammates to do anything. You know what I mean? I don't want to feel like they need to give up something of their own to help me. I want to feel like they should be able to ask me anything, and I'll be like, yeah, I can do that. Like if my mid needs me to cover, or if my mid needs me to roam with him bot, or my mid needs me to help him in a gank or something, I want to be able to like, yeah, okay, I'll pat this way, I'll get there, like we'll do this. Or someone tells me, hey, or like I say I need someone to come and help me because someone invaded me, and my teammate says like, no, I can't do that right now. I need to do this. I don't get annoyed because I want him to play his game. I don't want him to play my game. I want everyone to play their game, and it all just syncs up together. I don't want it to be where I need to play my game, and if no one's helping me play my game, then I can't play.
I feel like
Because
that's an
it's
ADC mentality then, that it came from me, not you, but like me. Like,
oh,
right? Like,
I
think
mean,
about that, right? Like,
you
what
played
is it?
it.
What is an ADC's role in the game is to carry people, but like for the past like 3-4 seasons, what does an ADC need? They rely so heavily on their support to enable them to win the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing for sure is even your ADCs, you play ADCs that are like immobile, like Jin, and or at least Jin's the one that I can remember for sure off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
so like I
And
played
he really
Jin,
relies
but
on
then I would
teammates.
play
Like
Ezreal was
if
my
you
other
think
one.
about,
But like
oh,
even though
I was
Ezreal was
gonna play.
mobile, he also just like laning phase wise, he definitely needed a support that allowed him to get through laning phase.
I mean, I played like Ezreal, Caitlyn, stuff where like I feel like I can just win the lane by myself, and it doesn't matter what my support's doing. And on Ezreal,
I
it's not that
hated
you
Caitlyn
win.
though. I
It's
hate
not.
Caitlyn, and that
It's
was
not
always
that
the
you win
problem,
the
right?
lane. Yeah, it's not like that you win the lane by yourself on Ezreal, but it's like, all right, if my support's useless, I can just play Ezreal. I can
And just
save
farm up
farm.
and save back. Yeah.
Yeah, and then mid game I'll be super strong,
Well, like
and just let my mirror mana finish, and I
yeah.
will carry.
And
But yeah,
I loved Jin, but like yeah, like you said, like there's the big problem of like he's super immobile, and so like if my support doesn't want to
yeah.
play up, then like okay, cool, I sit back and farm. But like if they have a hyper mobile team, like I'll just die.
Or like your teammates need to land some sort of skill shot so you can land W, right? Or
no, I could lane W without it. Like I got really good at
well,
doing
I
that,
meant
but
like
like
in the sense of let's say you're roaming somewhere or you're like farming and there's like a fight and you want to snare the guy so that your team can make a catch, and then no one fucking hits him, and it's like, dude, I'm right here, like I can snare the guy, just fucking hit him so that I snare him, and you all can catch him, and instead of hitting him, your teammate just backs off. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like god damn it, like
And
honestly, those moments on Gen annoy me so much.
yeah,
When like I feel like I'm a really good utility, not just a really strong AD carry in terms of being able to fight, but a really good utility AD carry, right? Because I can snare people, or if there's a fight and we're getting a catch and I'm kind of far away, I can ult to help the catch,
yeah.
and people just
I,
don't.
I never actually played hyper carries except for like the moments when Jin was considered a hyper carry, but like
Yeah, when he
even
was
that
strong as
or
fuck.
like
Oh my god, he
or
was so fun when he was
dude,
strong as fuck.
dude, he was so fun. But like, I never really played like a true hyper carry. I never played Vayne. I never played Caitlyn. I played Tristana to a degree. Um, I liked Tristana actually. I
I mean,
enjoyed.
I don't know if I consider Caitlyn a hyper carry. She's like a
She's a
one
very
bullet.
late game strong carry, I guess. I guess she's
Yeah,
not technically a hyper because her mid game shit. But like,
yeah, her mid game's so bad.
but uh, but like I played like my main three. If I don't include Corky, would have been Jin, Ezreal, and Ashe. Like those are the three I played, and like two of those are definitely more or less supportive characters, and then Ezreal was just fun to me. I just liked them. I liked being a mage player in the bot lane basically because it's like you just weave spells anyways. Like that's the whole point of Ezreal, and like that was always a mechanic I liked. Like I started off as a mage player who then went to a tank player who then went to an ADC player and stuck with ADC for a while and then back to tanks again. Like that's just a style I've played for so long, and because of the fact that I spent what 6 years as an ADC player, and for the last 4 of it, like it's either I play Caitlyn or when Kaisa came out, you play Kaisa or Vayne, and just get really mechanically solid at those champions and just hyper carry my team, or I rely on my support to help enable me. And like that was just a mindset I guess I got into, was like I need my team to enable me. And even when I played jungle, like unless I played Ivern, I needed my team to enable me, which I still think I'm actually a pretty solid Ivern player in most cases. But like I feel like he just doesn't fit in the low elo playstyle.
Yeah, I don't mind your Ivan. I'll give you that. When you play Ivan, it's pretty chill. I think it's
I'm
because
also this
you
just
also you sound like you're having more fun when you play Ivan. Maybe that's why I like it more.
he's
Versus
also well, he's more goofy. He's so much more.
yeah,
I like.
you get
I
you get
get
way
he's
less.
a lot of fun, and he legitimately is one of those guys that is like it's so annoying to play against him because I just go up to your buff, I put my fucking passive on it, I smite and I walk away, and it's just like I don't have to give a shit. Like I literally the character is all about I don't give a fuck attitude. Like that's the entirety of the champion, and I love it. But like I also like have a hard time playing him in rank because like the whole job of Ivern is to enable somebody else to do well, but like to me that feels like I have to enable somebody who I think is like my mentality of my teammates is is to act like my teammates are dumbass and play my own game. The problem is I don't play champions that are good in that style, right? Like assassins are ones that it's like just ignore my team and I play my own game, or like I don't give up my game to go assist my team unless I respect the person I'm playing with, right? Like, and even then, to a degree, I want that person to play my game. I'm a very
Yeah,
greedy player in that regard. When people play my game, shit can go well, right? Like shit can go pretty well. Like I'm not a bad player when people enable me, but I do require a lot of resources to do that, which is why I think Tarek is probably a good pick as well for me because he doesn't really require a lot of resources to be useful. Like he requires levels and the ability to farm, and he can gank kind of okay. And then like come to mid game team fights, I press R, and like my team is pretty enabled at that point because they're enabled to just go in because they can't die for a couple seconds. So like it's just like I think maybe picking up more Tarek could allow me to climb more because again, it's kind of I guess like when I put myself into the support role, I'm actually not bad at it. If I take the time to get used to it, like into that supportive style, I'm actually not bad at it when I force myself to play that style. It's an act of mind. It's an active, conscious choice of mine to have to switch that on though. Unless I'm just picking Ivern and then it's just automatic with that champion, I guess. But like otherwise, I see myself as like if I'm behind, my team loses. Like that's just kind of the mentality I've always kind of felt now. Is like I'm out of the game. I feel useless. I can't help them. And as the jungler, it feels even more so. If I get out jungled by somebody, I feel like I can't do anything. And to a degree, that's a lot more true this season than it was last season. Like the catch up, I hated catch up XP though. Like last season, I was so much more aggressive on my secondary as jungle, but I couldn't punish them as much because they just farm a couple camps and they caught up to me. And like, but then like this season, like I can't punish them as much because they just don't give a fuck about their farm and they go and kill my teammates, and then my teammates are mad at me for not going and helping them kill other people. And so it's just like it feels like for my style, like there's just like a no-win situation in that regard. So I need to adjust, I guess. My mindset is the biggest thing I need to focus on. The next one is learning how to be okay with being enabled, but in those games that I'm not, find a way to be able to enable my team, type thing. I guess.
I
Like
mean, you don't need to enable your team. You just need to be able to play your game without needing someone else to help you.
that feels
I
so.
know that sounds like it doesn't make sense because that means that you're essentially fighting without a team, but that's how I played it. I fight. I play like I'm playing with not a real team.
See, but how do you play like you're not with a team, but still become aware of what your team is doing? Like that to me just feels counterproductive in my mindset, right?
Because I play as if my teammate's gonna be useless when I go and trade. Like like unless it's something like I'm Malphite and I'm pressing R and I'm expecting
So
the
is this
Yasuo.
coming also with like an understanding of how the other champion trades as well? Like, do you have a very good understanding of that as well when you're doing that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a big thing. Or I try to break it down to like simple things in the sense of I only trade when I know that they're on a cooldown, or I only gank, or I try to gank when I know when someone doesn't have stuns, or I try to gank when I know that this lane is winning. Like let's say my top lane is already 2-0, right? And I know that I'm gonna path to my top side because my red's coming up. Well, then I'm definitely gonna hover there because I know that this guy's already dumpstering like his lane. I know that I'll just get a free like assist and some free XP from leashing a few minions or shoving it in with him. And then the other thing is usually when a lane's better, they know how to freeze the wave to get ganks, so that I don't have to super analyze it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And if it's not there, like if it's not there, it means that well then like most likely either he's in a bad situation to gank anyway. I don't want to gank, or he doesn't understand how to play his wave to get a gank, which may mean that he's not that good at the game in general. Do you know what I mean? So then why would I want to waste my time doing a gank unless it's really
So
easy, or if it's a gank where as long as my teammates press his skills, I should be able to when they get a kill or burn a summoner, and not even in the sense of. And sometimes you have to think about your teammates pressing skills depending on what champ they're playing too, right? Because if they're playing a champion that relies on skill shots and you need them to press their skills, well, they could press their skills and miss. But if I'm like ganking top for like let's say I'm ganking mid and it's a TF, right? I
he
literally
is
I
a
just
he is a
like
he has an auto attack stun. So
yeah,
yeah, it's
I
he
just need
can't
him
miss
to
it.
go card. Like it's really hard for him to fuck up, especially
I mean,
if
he
I'm
blue
playing
card
like
Reggie your ass.
yeah, either he blue cards or like I can make it easier if I'm like playing Lee Sin or something, right? Because I can slow the guy. He's probably not gonna get away. The only way my TF fucks it up is if he doesn't pick a gold card, right? Like that kind of shit. And even if he does, even if he fucks up and doesn't pick a gold card, we're probably gonna burn a flash, like minimum. Like stuff like that. I try to keep in mind, and or like losing lanes. I generally avoid unless
So
I'm strong enough to where I trust that I can kill them on my own. Do you get what I mean?
so
Because
what do
usually,
you do in a situation when all of your lanes are losing lanes? Like,
I hope that they throw. I farm and I try to gank lanes that are really obvious that I can gank, and sometimes I'm not even ganking to get a kill. I'm just ganking so that my laners can breathe and get their CS, because we might not be able to kill them. You know,
yeah,
like especially if we're really behind. I'm ganking very cautiously and essentially just giving my laner breathing room. Like let's say I'm ganking during a cannon. I want to make sure he doesn't miss the cannon because that's a lot of gold, and then they get some breathing room. I'll clear the vision so that they're scared that I could regank them. But I'm probably not gonna regank them. I'm probably gonna go to a different lane.
okay. I mean, I guess I
And
could see
then
that.
the biggest thing is when you're really far behind, I try to clear as much as I can, so that because you're not when you're really behind, you're not gonna catch up by getting kills because you're too behind to to kill them, right? But if you keep farming up and get like a decent power spec, even if they're ahead of you, if you have a general understanding of all right, this item like should make me this much stronger. And I try to when I'm behind, one thing I definitely do is I try to gank more damage lanes than more tank lanes, in terms of the guy who's fed. Like let's say there's a fed Nasus top, right? I'm not gonna gank that, like just because he's probably gonna build tank items. So even if I play it really well, his items are designed to fucking be able to get away from an elongated fight because he's a tank. But let's say I'm playing against a Talon mid or something, something really squishy, something that builds full damage, and let's say I'm playing Lee Sin. Okay, so no matter how far he is ahead, he only has damage items. He's not going to be any tankier. He literally could be the same build with one less item. He's going to be the same amount of squish. So I try to get in. Let's say I try to make a situation where I blow my whole combo, and if he's low enough, I will go. And if I blow my whole combo, and he is not, then I'm dipping. Do you know what I mean? Or like I dash in R, and or yeah, I dash in R and Q, and if he's low enough, I will take the second Q, and if he's not, I just bail. And like that's kind of you fish back and forth to see what you get with that.
Okay. I mean, I can
Yeah.
see that to a degree. I don't know. Like, I understand it. Like, I understand what you're talking about there, and I want to do stuff like that to a lot of it. But I feel like there's also a lot of situations where it's just like, as soon as somebody falls behind, especially in gold, it feels this way even worse. Gold and plat, it feels this way horrendously. It's like as soon as they fall behind, they're kind of like me, in that mentality of they're just like they're instantly done. Like it's just like, oh, I've
Yeah.
lost my chance
Yeah,
of the
people
lead.
do
I'm
that a
done.
lot.
And like they're just like instantly they're just like they're not trying anymore. They're not positioning. They're not setting up for waves. And then they're mad that I'm not
Yeah,
ganking them.
they're in like
And
that autopilot mode.
and
That autopilot I gave up kind of mode.
yeah, and it's just like I just want this game to be over with. Like I'm just gonna, I'm gonna do the bare minimum to not make it look like I'm hard inting, but like I'm not trying to win anymore. Like and it happens pretty regularly for me where there's at least one person that just goes into that autopilot after their first death. Like
Yeah.
that Vlad,
Yeah.
that other game that I was talking about, like where he was there, he was autopiloting his build, and then just like hard changed his build to like, oh, I can do this now. Like I don't know what gave him that second wind thought that he was just automatically this super strong champion and like so far ahead of everybody else at that point. But like he switched up to zero magic pen, full damage Vlad versus a three item Volibear, 3 item Rengar, 3 item like everybody on the enemy team was also on 3 items and had a decent amount of resistances, if not like a defensive item, like one defensive item at least at this point. And it was just like, what are you doing? Like, you literally just gave up so much gold to hard pivot to this build, and like, you're not strong enough that you're not ahead. Like, this is a build you
He
build when you're
probably just
ahead.
gave up and felt like he was having fun.
Like, and it was just like he
It's
hard,
definitely fun to use.
and
You
it was one of
fucking.
those situations that it was just like if he kept going with that kind of off tanky build, we might have actually won that game just because like that gave us another person that could soak some damage enough time to give Vayne the ability to just pop off like she was doing. Like it was literally we just needed to play around Vayne and we won that game. But like it felt like me and Thresh ended up being the only two playing around the Vayne. Like it just like it felt like he just hard gave up and it was just like why would you do this? Like I get it, you're not getting ganks from me, but like you're also getting ganked because you're at the Volibear's tower half the time. Like you're behind but you're hard shoving, you're not like last hitting, you're not freezing the wave, you're just hard shoving and you're getting punished for it. Like that's just that's I don't know. I feel like that's the like I can't always judge people for that because I as an ADC I had a tendency to hard shove, but I like also was very adamant about knowing generally where the enemy jungler was. When I didn't, I would die, and like half the time, if it was a situation where I feel like we could outplay it, I'd get pissed. If it was a situation where I was dying, I was mad because I wasn't getting ganked. So I've been on the other flip side of that coin, but like I've also now like come to play jungle more and I understand it a bit more. Like the jungler's job is not necessarily to get you ahead. Like they have to play their own game as well. They have to farm, they have to put out wards, they have to try to make sure they can position to contest dragons and barons and shit like that. Like they have to have a much like they have to have so much of an understanding of everything going on the map at one time that sometimes they can they can overlook the fact that you're just you're down you've died one time in a solo lane. Like just because you're slightly behind, my job doesn't just instantly become make sure that you're not like like you don't just keep hemorrhaging. Like your job at that point should be to just like play it a little safer to make sure you don't hemorrhage. Like sure you lose a little bit and then I see that you're struggling a little bit and you're not terribly far behind, so like let me go up there and help you out type of situation. But like it feels like the mentality of most of these people is like they get slightly behind and they just continue building, going behind so far to the point that I can't allocate time to go help them. Like I can't do anything to go assist you, so I have to go look somewhere else on the map. But like my mid laner is like a full burst assassin versus a Syndra. It's like yeah, but I'm all our lockdown on them, so like if I fucking miss any of my lockdown, we can't kill them. Or if they have any type of ward and knock me away when I try to go for an engage, like we can't kill them. Like there's there's so many like key things that could happen to go wrong for this play that it's like, all right, I'm just not taking this play. And then it's like, let me look at bot lane, and it's like, okay, our bot lane's hard shoved, so I guess I'll just hover this way to make sure their jungler doesn't come in. I hover that way for about 2 minutes. Their jungler doesn't come in. I go back towards top side to clear up my farm, and then they gank my bot lane because my bot lane's still pushing forward and dies. So it's just like it feels like there's just a desync of like maybe I guess I need to just like tell people I'm not on your side of the map. Maybe I just need to type that from now on and just be like I'm on top side of the map, play safe bot side or something. Like I don't know. Like
Sometimes I just let those plays go. Like you can't stop people from making their mistakes. It's a natural thing, especially when we're not playing in high elo. I don't mean that just for you. I mean for me too in plat. Like, so even in D4, it happens a lot. When I was in D4, like, people just make mistakes, whether it be because they're choosing to or because they don't know what they're doing. Because there are plenty of people who, I mean, I'm a victim here. I'm a person who does this too. Where like I'll just shove on my lane or be overly aggressive when I don't need to, just because I want to punish them at every moment I can. You know,
But
like
sometimes
I don't know where
punishing
to
them
jump.
gets you punished, and so
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
so
And that's something that I'll be honest. Like no person telling me like, hey, sorry, there might, unless you tell me specifically like, oh, I saw their jungler right there. Like let's say I'm playing
maybe I
mid
need to start
and
lying about that, right? Like I
yeah,
should just
yeah,
start lying to them and
like
just be
if
like,
I'm playing
"Hey,
like
I saw
bot
them coming by. Get out of
and
there."
someone told me like, hey, he just walked over your ward, don't trade. But if he just says like, oh, I think their jungler might be right here and pings like rates or something, I'll be like, all right, you think right? All right, let's find out. Like,
So just start lying with confidence
yeah,
through my
yeah.
teeth, and just so
So
that
like,
they play safer and just
yeah, so there's definitely that too.
force
Well,
my
it's
team
not
to
even
play like
just
a bitch.
lying, but it's like I don't know. I don't like it when people try to force me to do things when I don't, especially if I don't feel like it's something that's mandatory,
Yeah.
and so I try not to force people to do certain things. And for sure, there's one thing I do which I feel like which is what brings back to why Lindsay or you think that like I'm pretty mechanical or something. Is that I'm not I don't think I'm super mechanically good, but I am a super big risk taker. Like that's just my thing. Like if I walk up to someone and I'm not sure who wins the trade, I'm just gonna be like, all right, I guess we'll find out. You know, like I hit level 3 on Fizz, I have all my skills, and where I'm laning against someone and I'm not sure if I'll trade them.
Maybe that's where you think
I,
I don't have knowledge of the game, is because I don't have like that knowledge of who do I know is going to win this trade. Most of the situations outside of when I'm on Trundle, I don't
no,
know
no,
when
no.
somebody's going to win a trade, and so most of my plays end up becoming like, oh, I probably shouldn't have taken this fight. Like
Yeah,
after the
yeah,
fact,
okay.
where it's like
That
I just
that
don't
does
know that
happen
they're
a lot. You
I don't
there are
know that they're
trades
going to
where you,
win this.
yeah, there are trades where you take where I'm like, all right, I'm pretty sure like there's no way he wins this, and then that's what happens. Or and honestly, the biggest thing is when remember the days where I told you how to path or where I think you should go a few times. That's the thing where that throws me off. Where I don't think, or maybe not the game, but you don't know how to prioritize your jungle very well, which leads me to think you don't know a lot about the game.
So
Like there are
my
moments where like, or
pathing
it's
in
not even
jungle
just
is a little bit
that.
weird.
Yeah, it's not
Sometimes
just that. But like I know sometimes the recall timings sometimes you were really off. You've done a lot better since those times that I've told you, and
So like
you
Trundle, I was a
admitted it yourself.
goblin. Like
Yeah,
Trundle, I
I would
was just greedy because
you've
I knew I was
even
a stat
admitted
check
yourself.
champion. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah, you've admitted yourself where like you fucking where you gold hoard and you have a
oh
ton
dude,
of gold for no reason or
I was listed as like one of the top 200 Trundles, but also like one of the worst Trundles because I was a goblin, dude. Like I all like most of the time my first back was because I died. Like it wasn't necessarily I chose to back is because I finally just got out. They had enough stats to finally kill me. Like. And it was just like the situations that would happen. And then it's like, oh, cool, I get to buy Bork, I get to buy this, I get to buy that. Like, it was just like stupid shit like that would happen. And like, on Trundle, that was something like, it was just because I knew that I'm a stat check champion, and I know so much about Trundle's kit, and I was so confident with my ability to play this champion, and I knew so much about how his kit worked that I was just positive nobody could fight me. And in many cases, I ended up being right just because of the nature of the champion. Like, I steal their AD, I steal their tankiness, I increase my own ability to attack them. And in many of those situations, and then my item spikes were just strong. So it's just like, when I spiked on items, like, I just 1v1'd anyone. And, like, that was just how I built them, and that's how I played him. And so, like, there was always situations that you're like, you don't take these, you won't win this. And then I turn around and I win the fight, and that just fueled me. And you're just like, how did you win this? Like, it was just them being stupid half the time sometimes, or sometimes it was just the fact that like I
and
actually happened
there
to
are
just be.
definitely moments where you understood that you were stronger than them better than I did. But
Yeah,
I
but that was
definitely
also because I played that one
yeah.
build so fucking much. I learned everything about how strong Trundle felt on that build. Like, so like that was probably where my knowledge on that specific build was there. When I talk about having game knowledge, though, I'm not necessarily talking about like jungle pathing all the time, but I'm talking about like the big picture of the game, right? Like, how do you win the game? Okay, does your team play for dragons? Does your team play for a split push? Does your team play for for a team fight? It's like, I'm pretty good at, like, when I have a fucking hodgepodge of a team, I can generally discern what our win con should be most of the time. And now I don't always play to that win con because sometimes my teammates don't know what that win con is, and sometimes somebody else on my team actually just gets so far ahead that even though they weren't supposed to be our win con, they're just massively ahead. We need to play through that fucker right there. Like, so, like, I'm pretty okay with that aspect of it, I think, to a degree. You know, I'm not going to say I'm, like, fucking god tier at that, because obviously if I was, I'd be winning more games, but, like, I have a good understanding of reading that. I have a good understanding of what items are supposedly strong right now. I have a good understanding of what champions are supposed to be strong right now. Doesn't necessarily mean I know how they're strong or when they're strong in the game, but I know who is strong, and I generally know what their kits are, and I know what pretty much every champion's kits are. Like, I have a vast knowledge about a lot of different things about the game. Is my knowledge perfect? No, it is not. There's a lot of things I still need to learn. You know, like, when does Rengar hit a power spike in levels? I don't know that. I don't fucking know when he can just go from 0-6 to fucking dominating me, even though he's 3 items behind
Like,
and a level and a
do you
half
know
behind.
about those things in terms of like actual knowledge? I guess you're right in the sense that you have better actual knowledge than me in a lot of those things because you actually, I'm assuming,
I watch a
especially
lot of videos, I read a lot of patch notes, I
yeah, I was
do a
gonna
lot of that
say,
stuff.
yeah, like you understand the numbers, you understand like if there is reasoning behind it with the numbers, like you learn it from actually reading and understanding that shit. Where it's like, I don't learn from that shit at all, bro. I just
You
learn
learn
by
from practical uses,
playing.
yeah.
I just
Which is
it,
the opposite of me.
it's
I'm not a very practical player when it comes to it. Like, I don't go into
yeah,
it
like
and just like notice the patterns. I have to go read
yeah,
about them. I have to go
exactly like
learn about it.
I
I'm an academic learner. I'm not a fucking street smart person. That's not something I'm good at, unfortunately.
yeah, I was gonna say yeah, that's definitely how I learn versus how you learn. Where like I can tell you when it makes sense for me as to why I might be stronger, when I might be stronger, but I won't know like the numbers or as to why. It's just oh yeah, I've done this like 100 times, like, and I have a general idea of how it should turn out.
So
As
like,
long as the guy isn't like a fucking god, it should turn out this way, right?
yeah,
And and that's how I learn. Which,
and
like, even with the thing where I don't play a ton of ranked like you do, but I just play the game a shit ton in general.
yeah.
Like, if you look at my level and the champion mastery, I just. And the other thing is, I think, compared to most players, I like going in and trading and figuring it or finding out if I'm
You
winning a
like
trade.
monkeying your way through
Yeah, yeah. Whereas most people, like, they don't understand sometimes what I'm doing, like, because they don't realize that, like, don't worry, dude. Like, I know this was a bad idea the first time I did it, but I just did it enough to where I got used to it. You get what I mean? Like,
Yeah, if I didn't know what I was doing, this is a terrible mistake.
yeah,
Like, much
hard.
like how you would look at my Trundle. There's certain
Yeah,
situations you're like, this is a terrible idea, Nick, and then I turn
yeah,
around and do it, and
exactly.
you're just like, oh, I guess it wasn't like,
Yeah,
and that's it's kind
I
of funny when you
completely.
look at it that way, I guess. But Trundle was the only champion I've ever really done that on. Him and Jin. Those are the only two champions where it's just like I'm in a situation that looks absolutely horrible, but I can turn it around just because I know so much of like, all right, I know my power spike, I know what their fucking health is at, I know I can kill them, like, unless they're fucking like you said, unless they're a fucking god, I have this, like,
Yeah,
and that comes down to I think that comes down to a little bit of confidence, and like you said, monkeying through it, you can kind of learn this stuff. But a lot of how I've gotten better at League of Legends was the fact that I had to read about fucking everything. Like, when I started playing League, I was a hard stuck bronzy for a fucking. Well, actually, no, I wasn't even a bronzy. I was playing in the fucking Season 2 ELO system at 600 LP. You know how fucking bad you have to be at 600
you
LP?
never, you never told me it used to be 600. Holy shit.
You know how bad you have to be 600 LP, dude? That's so fucking bad. That's below fucking Iron ELO. Like, it's so bad, dude. The next season, I was hard stuck bronze 1. I had an MMR of a gold 5, but I was hard stuck bronze 1 because of a couple of different reasons. I was extremely toxic. Um, Another big one was that I was always just like, I had this big head that I could play almost every champion, though I was only really good on brand. Like, I had a 57% win rate on brand, but I had a sub 30% win rate on almost every other champion. Like, it was just like, I could play everything else, and it's like, no, I couldn't. I could play Brand and Gragas. Those were the champions I could play. That was my wheelhouse at the time, like, and I should have stuck to it, right? Like that's who I should have stuck with, and I should have done it, and I should have like actively learned the game. But it was kind of similar to my Trundle aspect of it. Is I learned that champion inside, which way, and out. I didn't always necessarily learn everything else. I didn't know like I knew Kassadin was really strong, but I learned how to beat Kassadin with Brand. I shouldn't have had it during Season 3. I shouldn't have been able to fucking ever do that, but I had to play that matchup so many fucking times that it finally got ingrained in me. So if I do this, he'll punish me. If I do that, he punishes me. But if I play here, he can't do anything to me. Or if my strategy, here's my... I still remember it to this day because it was so bad, but it worked. Heal Clarity Brand versus Kassadin. I didn't have Flash. But I won that fucking lane because the biggest problem Brand had in the early game is you'd run out of mana and you'd just be like 1 or 2 combos off from healing him. So I took Clarity. I fucking heal my mana up and then I beat the shit out of him and he was just like, huh. Like, and half the time I'd go like 4-0 versus Kassadin's at the beginning of the phase, and so even though they started scaling, I'd already be 2-3 items ahead and just one-shot them. And people were just like, how are you doing this? And it was like, it wasn't like an actual smart move. It was really dumb, because if they were actually good at the game, they'd punish the shit out of me. But, like, or if their jungler was smarter, he'd just camp me because I can't get away. I'm Brand. I can't flash. I'm not fast. Like, you can kill me really easily. But, like, I could punish a Kassadin who played over aggressive because, you know, Kassadin is strong boy, but, like, I had enough mana to kill you now. Like, it was a really stupid thing that worked, but, like, yeah, I was really, really, really bad when I first started playing League of Legends. So, like, I had to climb from the pits of fucking trash to Platinum. And, like, when I first hit Platinum, that was a massive achievement. When I almost hit Diamond, I was super fucking excited. You know, at that point, I'd been playing 6 hours a day, 7 days a week, for about four or 5 years now, at that point. And then, like, when my computer crashed and I came back 6 months later and I had to relearn certain things, I just never was able to get back to that point. I just kept getting angrier and angrier, and some of my outlets for how I'd get rid of my anger were gone. Like, I no longer fenced, I no longer did other sports, I no longer did things to take things off of my mind. So League of Legends became my only outlet for anger, and, you know, you could kind of see the byproduct of it.
I can't remember having a conversation similar about that stuff before. I don't remember why. I think it was when you came back initially.
Yeah, like, and there was more things to make me angry. Like, I had to quit fencing because I wasn't getting any coaching lessons. I was paying for coaches, and my coach wasn't coaching me because they'd fired my old coach because of some scandal that he got implicated in, but he was never actually involved in. So I was paying somebody for me to go teaching the little kids that wanted to learn how to do saber fencing. So I'm teaching these kids, but I'm not learning anything new for myself. And so legitimately I was just like, and I wasn't getting paid for it, and I was paying them for me to do that. And so, like, I was just getting mad about it. Like, I was getting really mad about it. And then, so, like, I left that, you know, issues with me and my dad broke down even more. And then, you know, I graduated high school, so I was no longer on the bowling team. And then, like, I'm back at League for about a year. My computer breaks, and then I come back, and you know, I'm no longer really talking to my dad, so I'm not going cycling, so I'm not burning off energy there.
Wait. What year was that? Holy shit. When did you graduate high school?
2014.
Wow. Oh, okay. All right.
So about 2015, about 2015, I think. 2015, 2016 is when my computer broke. So it was about a year after high school. It was really when that, you know, and I stopped going to college. You know, all these things culminated at once, so all I was doing was working and playing League. And that was really kind of a downhill decline for me at that point. Mentally, at least.
And then, what was the season you almost got the diamond again? Was it 5 or 6?
It was either 5 or 6. I don't remember which. But I was really fucking close that season. I was really fucking mad.
Almost, right?
I was one game off, so I was 2-2. I had one game left in the promos. If I won it, I was in. If I didn't, I wasn't. But, like, I was one fucking game, right? Like, I could have done it. Like, that's the part that always, like, upset me the most is, like, I never found out if I did or didn't. Like, if I didn't, you know, I didn't. honest. That happens. But like, if I did it, I did it. It was 6 fucking months of no computer. And the last 3 or 4 of it was I got decayed for 3 months. So I went from Plat 1 down to Plat 4, and I was not happy about that. Like, when I found out I didn't even get to keep my Plat 1 fucking border and shit, like, I was not happy about that. I was not happy in the slightest when that happened. Which was always kind of, I guess, a driving factor for me at that point. It wasn't necessarily that there was always that dream of, like, wanting to become really good at the game and, replacing my aspirations, becoming a pro Halo player, becoming a pro League of Legends player, all that jazz. Proving I could do it. But, like, since then, it was really just to prove that I could get back to that point. It wasn't even, like, that I really wanted to even. It was just to prove to myself that I hadn't wasted all my time, right? Like, because that's what it felt like. I almost hit that point where I was super happy with myself, and then I couldn't do it again. And then I watch all these videos. I gained all this general knowledge about the fucking game, the stats, the breakdown of things, the ability to watch other people and be analytical about stuff, opposed to being able to watch myself, because I find it boring as shit to watch about games about myself. But like, statistically speaking, like, I'm pretty knowledgeable at being able to watch something and kind of look at the stats side of things and kind of be like, all right, this person has this much of a goal and this much of a lead and they should win this type of thing, and like, I can do that type of aspect of it. But like, and I spent all that time becoming that knowledgeable and then it all felt for nothing, right? And so like, this season had been that kind of like do or die type feeling. I've put so much more into the season than I did even last season.
Yeah, you barely played at all last season.
And I mean, part of that was because I thought I was, towards the end of last season, I thought I was giving up League of Legends. I thought I didn't need it. That I found a girl that was going to be something. That went south. Anyhow, it's still like this season just became like my do or die season, I guess. And unfortunately, like, to this point, it's like, I really didn't want to say it was, but it really felt like that this is probably the season that, like, this is gonna be my last big hurrah. If I can't like improve this season, then I don't know if I necessarily will get to that point that I can again, right? Like, I've allocated so much time with it, and what do I have to show for it is kind of the feeling.
Yeah, that kind of really sucks. I thought it was because you liked playing League. But if you're doing it all for that, yeah, that definitely feels pretty fucking bad.
I mean, I enjoyed League, and I enjoyed the aspect of League to a degree, but each season has felt rougher and rougher, and even the normals games haven't even felt nearly as fun as they used to be. Like, because then I play with my friends, and then they get angry when we lose. And then it's like, why would I enjoy playing this when everybody's just getting angry when we lose? And like, but like, a big part of it just feels like when we lose, it's either you win by a shit ton or you lose by a shit ton. Like, there's very rarely those close games anymore. And sometimes those close games don't even feel good, because most of the time it's not even like, damn, that was a really close team fight. It was just like, oh, they stomped us in that team fight because we fucking misorganized and played it bad. And like, it's not even like, oh man, damn, they got us. It was like, fuck me, we really just threw that game. Like, no matter which way you look at it, it just feels like losing nowadays just feels so much worse than it even did back then. Like, I felt bad about losing back in the day, and I'd get mad about it. But like, even looking back on it now, even looking back on it now, though, I'd go back, like, with current me, I'd go back to those games where they were just like, they felt closer. Like, there was always that feeling of like, I never had to surrender. Like, that idea of never give up, never surrender.
I mean, I think maybe part of that is just because you're playing now to try to prove that you can get back instead of getting to a new place. Do you get what I mean? Because I feel like getting to a new place definitely helps make it feel like more relieving than that's why it was so hard for me to get back into StarCraft ever, because when you've been like at your peak, you're always worried that was your peak. Do you get what I mean? Versus when you're figuring out where it is,
That's why
That
I
that's what
haven't played
makes
Halo in
Minecraft.
close to 8 years
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Like once something's your peak, and not just that it's your peak, right? But that you've fallen below it, getting back to it feels so much harder than
unless
when
it's
you were
something
first
you
getting there in the first.
unless it's something you can genuinely enjoy. Like I can go
Yeah,
back and
yeah.
play Halo casually now, and that doesn't bother me. You know, for the first couple of years afterwards, when I switched to League, it did. It definitely bothered me. But like, I no longer see Halo as a competitive nature for me. Like, I see it as friendly competition, but I don't see it as like I have to be the best at it. Like, League replaced my competitive drive to that. Like, I've always had something in my life that was my competitive drive, and League has been it for the past 9 years now, and yeah, it feels so bad that like I'm gonna give up on it, and it's like, what do I have to show for it? I didn't go to college. I haven't found anything that's really been my calling in life, and League was that competitive thing for me, right? That was the thing. Like, I didn't really have any real thought that occasionally there was that daydream of like, oh man, I'm on a 20 game win streak. If I just continue this forever, I'm just gonna get there. But like, it wasn't like there wasn't any real consideration that like I was gonna actually get there and be the best. Like there was, yeah, I mean, there's of course daydreams. There's always these like fantasies of like, what would I do if I was actually one of the better players? What would I do if I got to be on one of the top teams? And glorifying this aspect of something that I couldn't really ever truly achieve, and that ends up becoming one of those things that it just like it's a fear of realizing that, right? It's like that fear of actually confronting the fact that it's pretty unattainable. It's it's pretty much not something that I will ever be able to do, as much as I want to say that I can. I mean, the time, the effort, the ability, the amount of money I'd have to invest to do it, like, would it
The
be
amount of
worth it?
people you're competing with.
Yeah, like,
Like,
and then like, even if let's say I get to Challenger, I'm still competing with 600 people, and then I'm competing with the 60 some odd people that are just hard stuck in pro play. Like, they don't leave it. And it's very rare that somebody else comes in and kicks them out of that spot. Like, I have to be so good at what I do, or at least so impressive enough, or have some type of thing that makes me stand out to them. And I can't even make myself stand out on YouTube content. I can't make myself stand out on streaming content. Like, how could I prove to myself that I could ever get to that point and actually do it? Right? Like, that's been one of the biggest like things that's hard to mentally like prepare yourself for, is to giving up on a dream, right? Because it was a dream, it was a fantasy, it was a dream, but it was in the very back of my mind it was ascertainable, but like also in that same spot it was, why are you doing this? And it's the only thing pushing me forward. Really, I have. It's man, this has turned into a much sadder part of the episode, but like, I've not really found any type of ambition or drive for a job, right? Like, my dream in life is to be happy, get married, have kids. That's it. That's the only thing I want in real life. And then like, it would be a dream job for me would be to play one of my hobbies, or do one of my hobbies as my job. And people are like, oh, never turn your hobby into a job, then you'll no longer enjoy it. To a degree, I don't. There's times that I don't enjoy League. There's times that I really love League. But there's always that habit of just like, how do I find that ambition to kind of push through the next day? Like, I had a goal. The only goal I had is like slowly slipping, or not even like, it's pretty fast slipping away from me this year. Like, how do you realign yourself to get rid of it, right? And that's a big part of what this season is right now. Is, do I give up? Like, making it back to plat right now seems so fucking far away. I get demoted out of plat. I'm back in fucking gold 2 now. Like, it seems so far away just to make it even to the level that I've been hard stuck at for the past 6 years. And that sucks. That's honestly, it's a wake up call, and it's also a moment of defeat that makes me just feel so out of control. Like,
yeah,
everything's out
and
of
it
my
feels
control
like
again.
this year definitely you've looked you've had a lot more of those moments than usual. I feel right this year in particular. Because now that I didn't think about it till you mentioned it, but this year is the first time we're on stream. I see you look really unhappy a lot more often. Not just unhappy when you lose and stuff, but I don't know if you normally have that. Maybe it's just because I've never seen it, but like all your ups and downs. Like I don't remember what day was that one day when I talked to you more in chat and stuff because I saw like after you got demoted, dude, you looked so fucking depressed, and then you got back to plat, and then like that immediately happened where you dropped out too, and then the things with these teams recently, like it's all pretty. I don't know if your other years were like this, but this year definitely seems a bit worse
It's
for
definitely the
you.
hardest. You know, anytime that I'd been on a team in the past, I'd left the team or like we parted ways mutually. Like, oh god, like the team's just not meshing, so we're all just kind of parting ways. Or like I'm leaving the team because something outside of the game is like I can't dedicate enough time to the team, so it's not fair to them, it's not fair to me, type thing. And like this year, I joined a team for the first time, trying to become like I have the time, I have the ability to like allocate myself to becoming better, and then it didn't work out, and then it's like my mental health feels like it's deteriorating, and there's just so many things. Like I probably need to go talk to a therapist again, and then like then I think to myself, well, I can't afford it. I don't have a job, so it's just like there's all these different aspects that are starting to weigh down again, and it's so funny because I'm privileged enough to where I can actively do this, right? Like I can actively try to push for this, but it's enough of a thing that's weighing on my mind, that's weighing down on me, that it's just making me like slip further and further into a depressive state, and it's not good. It's not fun. But like I have a hard time waking up. I have a hard time going to sleep. I have a hard time just deciding what I want to do that day. Like I'm finding myself taking more skips from streaming. Streaming's not hard. I don't like I put effort into it, but like I'm not trying to make
Mm,
my stream look like the most super flashy gimmicky. Like I'm not doing all of these giant amount of things to catch everybody's attention on it. I'm putting in my effort, the same effort I did. I was shit for half the time I was making my bed. Like, you know, I was taking a shower, combing my hair. Like, I'm trying to make, you know, stuff that I need to make presentable. But, like, it's not nearly as taxing as an 8-hour job. And then I'm playing a game for 8 hours, you know, and I'm interacting with chat a bit. I'm doing all these other things. But, like, it definitely has weighed down on me mentally. And then along with the fact, pairing that with the fact that I'm not succeeding at League. Um,
Honestly, then
and then
playing League for a whole day sometimes seems more stressful than going to work for 8 hours.
yeah, I guess it can be, right?
Definitely, like, I definitely would rather have like, but I also have pretty good chilled in terms of chillness jobs, so maybe that's part of it. But I definitely can see a lot of days actually at work where that'd be a lot easier than. But maybe it's because I don't like League enough too. That it'd be easier for me to do that for 8 hours a day than to fucking play League for 8 hours a day.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things that it's just like there's just that ever weighing thing of like, what happens when I have to go back to work? What happens when I, you know, can't put this much effort into it? Do I just get worse? Do I just like, you know? And then there's that thought in the back of my mind, like, what happens
Oh,
next season? Like, I'm gonna start even lower. Like, I'm gonna have to climb even harder. Like, am I gonna be able to do it?
sometimes taking a break from League helps. I guess so far in your experience, it hasn't though, huh? Let's go with that.
Every time I take a break, I have to relearn everything, and
Yeah.
so I just it's it's one of those things. Like in my personal experience, it's not good for me, and for many people, it can be because you could just reset and then you come back and you don't care
Yeah.
about the meta. But
It
like,
doesn't. It really helps for me a lot of the times.
but for
Just
like
lets me.
for me, my life is League of Legends. If I take a break from it, what the fuck do I do? Right? Like, what is my
Yeah, I
life
guess
at
so.
this point?
Too.
Especially right now, where there's
I
not
mean,
like I can go out and hang out with friends. I can't go out and do shit. Like, it's literally I sit here and I play Slay the Spire for 9 hours a day. Like, That's not
I
much
mean,
healthier.
you have your realm friends. You have other stuff, don't you? Like your realm friends, Minecraft. What happened to that streamer group that you played with for a while?
Streamer
That I
group?
saw that one night. Do you still play with them at all?
Which? Oh, for the league guys?
I have no clue. You guys played TFT together, remember?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
Elvareth and Dalt.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
guys. Like
So
the
like
cousin?
I hang out with Elva every now and then, like when we chat, but like it's really he recently's been doing a lot more like Warhammer miniatures painting, and then when he's not streaming, he's actually doing things right now for a job. So like he actually has other things going on. And then Daltronics, I don't really hang out with Dalt much. The only reason I was really hanging out with Dalt's because he hangs out with Elva. Uh, but even then, like Elva's only again as much as I've known him for fucking long ass time now. But like we're both really cool with each other. We both want to support each other and help each other out and stuff. But like, I mean, he does his thing, I do my thing type thing. It's I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm assuming your relationship with Death Note's kind of like mine, right? Or we hang out and we're really chill with each other, but we both do our own things most of the time. When we hang out, it's not really that we regularly hang out or anything, right? We're not that that means that we're not good friends, but in the sense of we usually have our own things to do, and when we're free, we
Uh,
hang out.
Depends. Me and Darth go
Is
through
your friendship
phases.
okay?
Sometimes me and Darth do like you and him, where it's just or you and me. Sometimes where it's just like we don't really talk for a while, and then like we just start chatting
Yeah,
every now
yeah,
and then. But
yeah. My friendship with Death Note was really similar to mine with yours in the sense of I'll pop in pretty often for a while, and then I won't, and
yeah,
then
and
but
that's
nothing really changes, right? Like at the end of the day, we're
I don't know. Me and him chat a lot, and then
okay.
we talk pretty regularly. I'd say, and then like we'll go through good stretches of probably like 2 3 months in a row where it's just like every day we get on and we're both hanging out with each other. Also depends on how much he's working and how much he hangs out with his his real life friends too. So like it's like a half and half type mix type thing. If his real life friends or Josh aren't hanging out with him much, then he's hanging out with me more. Like it's kind of one of those things. Or if he hasn't seen me in a while, he checks in on me to make sure I haven't done something, and then goes on and we go our own ways type thing. But like I don't know, it's. I mean, shit. I was even having D&D for a while, where that was helping relieve some of my mental stress to a degree. But like we only had 3 people in our game. One of them's kind of a germaphobe, so with COVID happening, he was out, and so it's just me and the other guy, and it's like, well, like unless we can find more people who are willing to come out during COVID, like I guess we're just not having a game right now. And so like I don't have that going, and then I mean I guess I could hang out with my family more. But I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. Like my league aspirations they're still there. I still want to my goal is still right now is to hit diamond, and I want to get better still, but it's definitely a lot more of a struggle than it had been in previous seasons to a degree. Like some of the stuff that you could be talking about now, like as ADC, some of the things like if I had this mentality while I was still playing ADC, maybe I could have been diamond this season. Like was also a thought. Like I gave up on my main role that I'd been playing for so many years to chase my secondary role because it felt like I had more control. But then I get into this role and I feel like I just have as limited control as I did on ADC. And so like
Yeah, bro. All the roles kind of have their ups and downs.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. You remember the season that you got close to diamond? Were you jungling or
I was
ADC?
ADCing. I was playing
Oh, you were?
Jin. I was
Okay.
playing Jin predominantly. That was the season that they changed Urgot, I think. So I didn't even get to play Urgot anymore. What season was that? Fuck. I kind of have to look that up.
Yeah, I kind of want to see now. I'm actually with 6. Let's see what we play season 6. Oh yeah, you were mostly playing Jin.
Urgot was reworked in 7, so I might have been playing Urgot that season too. Wait, how are you checking previous seasons? What site are you using for that?
PGG.
op.gg can go back to there?
Yeah, you can just go to champions and then it lists by season. Looking at season 6.
It wasn't season 6. It wasn't season 6 because that was the first season I got to plat.
Okay.
So I think it was 7 or 8. It had to be 7, I think.
Oh, that makes sense. You have way more games that season 2.
So wait, how are you going back and checking that?
Where it says champions, hit champions, and then when it shows all your champions, it also lists the seasons.
Yeah, so it looks like 7. Yeah, and there's the Urgot changes there too.
That makes sense. You have so many games played that season 2.
Yeah, so like this one I was playing. Oh yeah, that was the season where I was picking up Twitch as my secondary, which was kind of weird. I don't know why I did that, but God, I had so many champions played that year. I had a game on Skarner that I won apparently.
Dude, you had so many games in general that season. Yeah, I forget. You used to play so fucking much.
78 different champions that season. Dude, that's not that many games, actually. I'm looking at that. That's not... I have more than that in just how much I've played this season.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's a very light season for me, actually. Season 7's kind of light. Season 6 is probably... No, Season 6 is pretty light, too.
Maybe this doesn't keep track of all the actual games you played, because I remember you having so... Maybe it just seemed a lot to me, because I don't play at all.
I usually average somewhere between, like, about 400 to 600, somewhere in that range for a season. Okay. Which is quite a bit, but that's about how much people play normals, right? Like, I was just playing my normals in ranked, basically. Season 4, where I became the Gragas player. Oh, it doesn't have my Season 3 and back ranks anymore. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it doesn't have mine back that far back either. I guess they get rid of them.
But, like, Season 8... 50-50. Oh yeah, that's where I started picking top lane as my secondary, and I was doing actually pretty well on tanks and top. And then last season, I played a very light season for me.
Yeah, last season you barely played at all.
Yeah, I made it to plat, and I really kind of gave up. I just didn't try.
Okay.
But it was also because, like, towards the end of the season, I was, you know, more occupied in my relationship than I was in league.
Yeah, last season, I got to, like, plat 1 and, like, fucking 50 wins or something. And then I lost, like, most of my games after that and demoted back to plat 3. And then I just stopped playing.
Also, the beginning of last season kind of demoralized me into not playing.
Yeah, I forgot. Last year you were in a relationship for a while, too.
Yeah, about 3 months towards the end of the season. Alright, I think that does it for the... I'm going to wrap up the podcast here. We can continue to talk afterwards, but I think we've kind of hit our points for the podcast. We've done 2 hours of talking on it.
Yeah, that was actually a really good discussion. I liked it.
But thank you guys so much for listening. If you got it this far, if you had, please leave a like on the video. Check out Sarc's channel for his highlights that he doesn't want you to see. And then feel free to drop by.
Not for you.
Feel free to stop by the Twitch and give me a follow on there and come hang out and chat with us. Possibly in the future we'll have an actual discussion with chat during one of these podcasts, opposed to just me reading the chat comments and seeing if I'm going to involve them in the talk or not. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.